It was very weird, Griffin.
I saw an alert on my phone.
About what?
So they did quarterback last year?
Yes, they're doing receivers this year with Justin Jefferson.
Should be fun.
Griffin was really interested.
That was funny. I was like, okay.
It's just a different position. That's all. Okay, good
I
morning.
can't wait for offensive line.
You know what? I'd watch.
Kicker.
I didn't watch quarterbacks. So I'm the wrong guy here. Good morning. It is a Tuesday edition of
Long
Glenn Clark
snapper,
Radio.
that'll be a good
Sure. I'm Glenn. He's Griffin. Really use it warming up again. Really nice. We got a lot to do. Well, hello. We got a lot to do on the program today. Coming up in just a few minutes, former Orioles catcher Matt Wieters will join us. We will chat with him. He was an instructor for a little bit down in Oriole spring training. What did he see? Is Adley Rutschman the greatest catcher in the history of catching? Talk to him about all of those things. Just being back around the Orioles, it's a good thing. We like that with Matt Wieters. Also coming up this morning, former Towson star Nick Timberlake. He's now a reserve guard for Kansas. Really limped to the finish line. Kansas did. Really, they lost 4 out of their last 5, I think. But type of team that has enough talent that and it's so difficult when it comes to the NCAA tournament, right? We are all thinking about the teams that are coming in hot, and as we do that, we end up putting ourselves in this position where we utterly forget about the teams that still have lots of talent. And you remember, all it takes for you to make a run is to just happen to win 3 or 4 games. So I absolutely could see Kansas being the type of team that, because of their talent, really puts things together. We'll find out. Nick Timberlake will join us a little bit later on in the program. We'll talk about the brackets with our buddy Patrick Stevens. And it's Tuesday, so we'll also get into County Sports Zone Radio with Wes Brown from County Sports Zone. All coming up on the program today. Today's show brought to you by Superbook. Superbook.com. Download the Superbook app. Use the code GlennClark23 when you sign up. You'll receive up to $250 in a same-day first bet match, win or lose from Superbook. The NCAA Tournament technically gets underway tonight. Howard, a 3-point favorite against Wagner.
So both these games are going to be really low scoring.
So why do you think
they both play well? Wagner play well. Howard doesn't play as much defense, but Wagner plays really good defense, and they're going to slow things down every chance.
Well, the number tonight is 128.5. How do you feel about that?
I think I like the under in both games.
You like the under? Griffin says the under both there and Virginia, Colorado State, where the Rams are 2.5-point favorites tonight. The number is really low.
Yeah, 120, right?
120.5. 120.5.
I think both these games are going to be in the 50s.
You're going under. It is a Virginia game.
Yeah.
Griffin says bet the under in both games.
If I had to pick a side, just because of the Mountain West has not, done great in the tournament. So I mean, San Diego State obviously did great last year, but Colorado State, away from altitude, has not been, they haven't been as dominant.
So you like Virginia?
They're getting what, 2.5?
2.5, yeah.
I don't know. I guess, yeah, because I mean it's.
All right, what you really like is the unders.
I do.
You're
I
betting
do like
unders. Griffin says we're betting unders tonight. Superbook.com. Download the Superbook app. Use the code GlennClark23 when you sign up. You'll receive that up to $250 in a same-day first bet match, win or lose. Nothing really to talk about from yesterday because there was nothing happening. Kevin Zeitler, we all knew that Kevin Zeitler, that he was the one that there was really no chance of returning based on the dead money issue by that deadline before free agency began. So, look, man, it sucks. Kevin Zeitler is a hell of a football player, great dude. You know how much we like Kevin Zeitler. He was a regular with us during his time here in Baltimore. Sucks. But it was also the way it was going to be. He was the obvious one. The question was how many more of them were there going to be. It confirms, obviously now, as if you didn't see it, Kevin Zeitler is going to sign with the Lions on a 1-year deal. It confirms that the Ravens will have to replace 60% of their starting offensive line from a year ago. I did, I do a regular hit down in Kansas City, and mine was yesterday. And we were talking about, obviously still Derrick Henry because it was the big story. And I just kept saying the same thing that I've been saying to you guys, which is, of course, you're all in on Derrick Henry. It's Derrick Henry. But it's mitigated by, was it the Ravens' biggest area of need? And looking at an offensive line in which you have to replace 60% of your starters. And we'll see where their appetite is with Patrick McCary if they view him as someone that they would be willing to have play as a starter at a position. My gut tells me they want to keep Patrick McCary's flexibility to play multiple positions depending on where. I think that's just something that they think is valuable. So as of today, you'd be looking at potentially Cleveland and Voorhees as guards and Faalele as the starting right tackle. And McCary could be sort of the backup plan if, one of those things goes wrong and somebody's really struggling. You could say, okay, well, McCary can always be the starter if that's necessary. And clearly you think that at least one of those spots they will address in the draft between night 1 or night 2. Whether that's an immediate, when you draft him, if it's in the first round, they're drafted to be a starter. Whether it's that or someone they draft with the opportunity to compete for a starting job because they draft him in the second or the third round, you assume that will be addressed. But I'll tell you, I'm concerned. I get it. I get it that you draft these guys because you expect them to play. And in doses, we're all high on Trenton Simpson, right? Over one game. One game, we're high on Trenton Simpson.
Got a sack.
I hear you. Well, Ben Cleveland last year, looked like a guy that deserved to play. I get it. We're measuring that against the Ben Cleveland that we saw before last year, who did not look like a guy that should be playing. But the guy that we saw last year in larger doses looked like a guy that deserved to play. Everybody was on board with the Andrew Voorhees selection when it was made. Daniel Faalele had his moments. I'm not telling you that I'm uber confident Daniel Faalele, but he had his moments. And again, we're talking about the idea that if they draft somebody in the early rounds this year, that they could be somebody to play. Well, Daniel Faalele was that guy. I'm concerned. That's all I can keep saying. I'm concerned. I do think that it's an area where they're going to look at what's still out there after June 1st. Although I also feel like this is almost theater of the absurd with compensatory picks at this point. They've got a fourth rounder for Patrick Queen that you want to protect, but how many draft picks can you really put on your roster? I got to pull up the equation. I feel like it's 5 picks that they're slated to add. And while maybe you stockpile to try to use it as ammunition for moving up, I find it hard to believe that you're going to be able to use 2025 6th and 7th round draft picks to move up significantly in the 2024 draft. I just feel like at some point, waiting until June 1st, there's just no. I know that they would say there's no way that any draft pick is a bad asset. I hear you, but it becomes you're not putting this many draft picks, this many late round draft picks on your team. It's not happening. Even in a you're paying your quarterback era, you're not putting that many late round draft picks on the roster. It's simply not happening. So I would be in favor of them not waiting until June 1st. If they're going to try to address offensive line help. And then, of course, there's still the edge rush thing. That whole deal. Where it's funny because a lot of people have theorized that, Jadeveon Clowney purposely doesn't want to sign. He wants to visit, but he doesn't want to sign because then he'd have to go to training camp.
Right.
I'm hard. The money does start to dry up at some point. I'm hard pressed to believe that Jadeveon Clowney can drag this thing out long enough to avoid having to go to training camp. I don't think it would work that way. Anyway, I'm not telling you anything you don't know. They have holes along the offensive line. We have questions there. They have not addressed edge rush at all. That's odd. But we'll see. There's still plenty of time. Still plenty of time for that to be addressed. I feel like there was something else that was significant yesterday. Did somebody else sign yesterday that was noteworthy? And
Cody Rhodes is,
I don't think that was what I was.
Troops and
I don't think that's what I was thinking was significant.
That was really the only other thing.
I don't think that had anything to do with what I thought was. I haven't watched. I'm going to watch today. Oh, Blake Snell, right? Yeah, Blake Snell. Dummy.
Oh, it was late last night.
Is there anything else significant that happened yesterday? Griffin's like, yeah, Cody Rhodes.
Can finish his story.
Yeah, thank you. What is going on with you?
Well, the only thing going on yesterday. It's kind of a good, worked out for them.
Yeah. Blake Snell signs with the Giants.
Yeah, send them all to the National League.
I mean, that part is good news. I do agree with that. I'm on board with him not being in the American League. And it does mean that there's only one left in Jordan Montgomery, so not both the Yankees and the Red Sox can't add a pitcher here. So at this point, you're rooting for Jordan Montgomery to end up with the Red Sox. If it has to be one or the other, let him go to the Red Sox, as you have less fear about the Red Sox. Like they just announced Brian Bello as their opening day starter. You're like, what are you, the Orioles? Like, what is going on here? I get it, Lucas Giolito's hurt, but still, boy, it's rough times. Of course, Brian Bello now is going to win the American League Cy Young.
No chance.
I don't think so. So Blake Snell ultimately signs with the Giants. Makes some sense. I guess there's going to be a lot of debate about how Scott Boras handled these clients after you see the deals that Bellinger and Snell ended up ultimately getting. It's 2 years, $62 million, but he has an opt-out after the first year, correct?
Yes. Yeah, he does.
So Blake Snell has another monster year. He can go try this again next offseason and see how it plays out for him. Look, man, would I have loved Blake Snell to have been signed by the Wild? Of course I would have. It would have been great. Did we ever think it was happening? Absolutely not. I've said that if they were going to, I still don't know why they wouldn't have dipped their toes in on Michael Lorenzen. That part is weird to me. I didn't necessarily he wasn't a priority for me. It was give yourself a depth option that isn't Julio Teheran. Give yourself a depth option that's actually looked like a major league pitcher at some point in recent memory. That was and I get it. You're hoping that John Means will be back before too long. We're still kind of waiting on any word definitively about Kyle Bradish. But worst case scenario, one of these guys is back in the bullpen. How awful. I mean, my God. Your bullpen is so stacked that how could you possibly have room for one of these guys? It might cost you Keegan Aiken, who, of course, Stan is in love with. And Luke also spoke very highly. It's not just Stan. I would have done that. I still would do that. I still would. Although at this point, you wouldn't feel good about their chances of them helping Michael Lorenzen helping you to start the season. You would think he probably would still need a little bit of time to ramp up in order to be able to go in the rotation. But you've got your rotation set for today. I just have zero interest in Julio Teheran being on the Orioles opening day roster. To do what? Again, if the answer is to be your backup plan for Cole Irvin, because Cole Irvin's last start was brutal and, you've got a recent track record where Cole Irvin struggled, Michael Lorenzen to me is a way better option to be that backup plan. At this point, Julio Teheran to me isn't in case of emergency break glass. It's in case of emergency, you have an emergency. There's just nothing there. And I get it. I could end up, how many guys, if you asked me what I thought of Ryan O'Hearn a year ago, I would have said, there's nothing there. I'm not saying it's impossible that someone that has not. By the way, there had been more with Ryan O'Hearn frequently or recently than there had been with Julio Tehran. I'm so confused by any interest in Julio Tehran being on this. To me, it was if he showed up here and looked like a wildly different guy and overwhelmed everybody, then maybe he can be a backup plan. Well, he ain't done that.
He's been Julio Tehran.
Stan the other day said, well, yeah, but he was facing, a more qualified line. Well, yes! Like he was facing major league hitters, which is what you'd have to face in the major leagues. He wants to go to Norfolk. All good, man. I got no beef with Julio Tehran being in the minor leagues. And Lord knows I don't think there's anybody beating that door down to try to grab Julio Tehran. Go try to prove that you can still get guys out, and then down the road, if there's an emergency situation, maybe. But to be on the opening day roster, all that would be a tacit acknowledgement that you don't have enough qualified major league pitchers, which is what makes it surprising that you wouldn't go add someone who's at least a qualified. By the way, it sounds like I'm blowing up Michael Lorenzen. We all know Michael Lorenzen stunk in the second half last year.
And who, I forget who it was that we had on a couple weeks ago, but they mentioned that Lorenzen does have bullpen experience, and that if if the rotation seems to fill out really well, then you can easily slide him into the
clearly
bullpen
at this point, Cole Irvin has to be your fifth starter. There's no option there. It's too late. Short of you making a trade. Like Michael Lorenzen would not be ready to start the season your fifth starter, so you'd be giving Cole Irvin that look. Michael Lorenzen goes to the bullpen. If it's not working out with Cole Irvin, then to me, Michael Lorenzen goes into the rotation then. I'm stunned that we're going to pretend like it's an acceptable option for Julio Tehran to be on the major league roster of a team that's trying to win, that is viewed as some sort of answer for anything. It's that, you guys know I love Stan, but him putting both Tehran and Colton Wong on the roster, and I'm not saying that they might both be on the roster, but it spits in the face of his argument about Jackson Holiday. Well, this team is trying to win. Well, then what are those guys doing here? What in the world? Those are guys that you put on the roster when you don't have expectations, because they're not good enough today. Again, I get it. Guys that aren't good enough today could end up proving to be something else. And I know that maybe Mike Elias knows something. Maybe. I can't say it's impossible. But from this view, that is not trying. Obviously, we can always end up being wrong. But from here, it's not trying. I'm stunned that they wouldn't consider the option of Michael Lorenzen. I would have loved it. I'd still love it for it to be Jordan Montgomery. That would make so much sense. You don't have a lot of lefties. I just don't believe that it's going to be. Although maybe the final approval comes for new ownership today. And Rita's gone with Uncle Ruben. Uncle Ruben decides today to spend that money on Jordan Montgomery. Be nice. That'd be nice. I'd be all in for it, but I don't think that's going to occur. All right. Hey, shout out to a bunch of you that got in. I was very frustrated early yesterday, but a lot of you ended up getting in as the day went on for our bracket contest. John in Little Rock, in fact, got in and just threw more money in for Show Your Soft Side, which good guy John in Little Rock. Good man. Thank you. Here's the deal. I'm going to call more of you out by name. Andrew Stetka. Can't help but notice you haven't gotten in yet, Paul Valley. Where you at, Ben in San Francisco? Need more of our regulars to step up to the plate. Ryan Chell. Going to call you out by name. I'm going to start calling you out by name on social media as well in case you're trying to hide this week or you're not listening. Need you. We want to get I'd love to get this up to $500. And by the way, John's donation will get us close to that, even if we don't get 50 people in the bracket contest. Show Your Soft Side is an amazing charity locally that's helping to protect animals in our community. So the way the bracket contest works, $20 buy-in, 50% of the pot is going to go to the winner. The other 50% of the pot is going to go to Show Your Soft Side. All you got to do, Venmo, Glenn Clark. It's Glenn-Clark on Venmo. Glenn-Clark. PayPal, Glenn Clark 180. Cash App, Glenn Clark Radio. We'll get you the link. We'll get you the password to get signed up. 50% of the pot, Show Your Soft Side. 50% of the pot to the winner for our GCR bracket contest. We only have 2 more days, so need you to fill this thing up so we can make a nice donation to an amazing animal charity, Show Your Soft Side, here locally for our GCR charity bracket contest. Please get in today. All right, joining us now here on GCR. Oh, is this true? Is Barcelona playing AC Milan in Baltimore?
I believe that is true.
For real?
Yeah.
Oh, I love that. Sorry, I got distracted there for a second. Thank you, John. That's wonderful news. It indeed is true. They're coming to Baltimore on August 6th. Love that. Love that. Now, let's talk some baseball this moment. Our next guest, obviously a part of some of our greatest memories in modern Orioles history. And it was great to have him back working as an instructor this spring with the Baltimore Orioles. Joining us now here on GCR, he is former Orioles catcher, Mr. Matt Wieters, who's back with us on the show. Matt, it's Glenn in Baltimore. It's great to catch up with you, man. Thank you for taking the time for us.
No problem, man. Thanks for having me on.
And, man, it's so good to talk to you, dude. How great was that for you to be back around the guys this spring? And, I know that you've been a little bit more and more involved with the Orioles in recent years. How good has that felt for you?
It's good because, baseball's been such a big part of my life for so long. And then, when you no longer are competing on the field, you go through this whole period of, well, I still love the game, but what's it look like? Because it's different than before. And I tell you what, before we're baseball players, we're baseball fans. So it's always nice to have a team to root for. And Baltimore always has a special place in my heart, but it feels even better to root for them when you can actually get to know the guys and be around the club. And so I appreciate everything, they did and bringing some of us older guys back to be able to just be around it, because it's fun watching this young group play, and it's even more fun when you can have a relationship with some of the guys.
I'm guessing that by the nature of your association with the team and the prominence of Adley Rutschman, that for the last couple of years, everywhere you walk on the street, somebody's like, "Hey, dude, what do you think of this Rutschman guy?" And your answer probably has to be well, I don't really know him. Has that been something that you've been dealing with a lot in recent years?
Yeah, because I don't watch a ton of baseball.
Okay.
Right now I'm coaching a lot of baseball, but I don't watch a ton of Major League Baseball. So you hear the snippets of it, and when I do catch glimpses of Adley playing, I'm like, yeah, that kid's special, but I don't watch 162 games anymore like I used to. So it's still a matter of, just first perceptions. But then, so it's cool kind of get to see not only how everybody at that level is such a good player, and everybody who can already achieve the accolades he's achieved is, has this unbelievable talent, but to be able to see the work habits, the kind of mental side that goes into so much more, okay, what's he going to look like in 5, 10, 15 years? And so it was impressive to be able to see, just the mature head he has on his shoulders. And they're all, he seems like he's handling the responsibility of what it takes to be a catcher on a good team as well as you possibly can.
What you just said there is so fascinating to me, right? And I think we've talked about it a lot. You dealt with so much in terms of expectations and, the moment you arrived, everybody, we packed the stadium and everybody thought this is the turning point. He had to deal with a lot of the same things. Did you guys talk about that at all when you were together in the spring?
Not per se, because like I said, I think he has a grasp of it, but it is something where I kind of left the door open, because there will be different periods throughout his season and career where it'll feel like, okay, are the expectations, keeping me from being my best and the team from being our best? And there's a point that expectations are good to a point that you want them to push you and you want to strive, but at the same time, it's you can get to a point where you're trying to live up to other people's expectations, and that can take some of the joy and fun away from baseball that it is.
Did you, Matt? This is fascinating to me because, like, I talk about this all the time. Dude, you by every measure, you worked. Like, you lived up to every reasonable expectation. But I have no doubt that there are still, like moments where you said, I don't know, I feel like I could have been better, or other people felt that way. Did you deal with that during the course of your own career, where like the insanity of the expectations almost became a burden for you?
I had a good support group at home, and so it didn't necessarily become a burden because it wasn't where I put the identity. I wouldn't change anything that I went through. Granted, every year I was pushing to try and win that last game of the season and win a ring. That was the goal going into the season, and we had a group of guys who were committed to it. So it makes it harder when you have a group of guys that are committed and you fall short. But I wouldn't change anything of how we went about it, because I feel like we went about it the right way. And it's all a cliche, but when you get done playing, you're like, results are great, but the memories and the work ethic and stuff we went through while we played is what lasts after the game's going off. Game's over.
Matt Wieters is with us here on GCR. So being around this group specifically, right? Like, what impressed you most about this group of players who it's hard for me to describe, Matt, because it just feels like there's a culture with this group of guys that goes even beyond what we know they're capable of being as baseball players.
Yeah, and I'll tell you what the most impressive thing of watching these guys work is, just the type of reps guys are taking now are so intense compared to what we took when we were,
really,
coming through. Just the amount of, they're taking full-on breaking ball BP from the get-go, arms throwing 75 miles per hour from 45 feet, which is really quick. Machines cranked up, like they're setting themselves up to fail in practice, but that doesn't affect their kind of young, fragile ego that drives them. And I love that about like their failures. It's not the end for these guys, which is great. They want to fail in practice so that when the game comes around and the season comes around, they're ready to handle even more. And I think that's probably the most impressive, because a lot of times young 20, 21, 22, 23, you've never failed in your life. So you don't really want to put yourself through that failure part. These guys, for young guys, embrace it. Like, no, this is going to make us better. And that's why we want to do it. And that was probably the most impressive thing of watching them through spring training and seeing what they were, willing to endure to improve.
Matt Wieters is with us here on GCR. Matt, you referenced that, right? And maybe somebody would draw a parallel. You guys in 2012, nobody expected you to be there at all. A lot made about like run differential, and yet you got there, and hell, there was a Game 5 in New York, and we'll debate for forever what happened with that foul pole, and we all have our opinions, but like you were there and fell short. How much did that stay with you guys in the years following, and how much do you think that can benefit this group to have had this unexpected run and to fall short and to have that taste in their mouths?
Yeah, the playoff mentality is a weird one to wrap your head around, and I don't know if I've completely grasped it while I played, because our mentality was very much like it motivates you to get back. And when the playoffs come, it's a lot of momentum and roll the dice, but you have to give yourself the opportunity to do that the most times as possible. And I think that's what our mindset was when we were playing, was don't let that, bog down playoff run affect us from getting back and having another chance the next year. And like, you have to have things go right in the playoffs. And whether or not I've completely grasped in my head that that's how it goes, you can grind for 162 and one bounce here or there, and it changes your season. But I don't know any other way to really think about it other than the team that can give themselves the most shots for the most amount of years has a better chance than the team that gets one shot. And that's kind of my mantra. I grew up a Braves fan in the 90s, so won World Series, but they had a chance every year. And so that was kind of more of like, what would you rather have? And I don't know if there's a right answer to it, but watching this Orioles group, I think they've grasped that, like, this can't be a 1 year get back. It's like, we've got to just keep improving because everybody else is going to.
What about, did you get a sense, look, you guys, that everybody here in Baltimore worships at the altar of Buck Showalter, right? Like, the reverence that we have for that man is through the roof. But I feel like Brandon Hyde doesn't get credit. What did you take from being around him and like how it's working with him without the same level of experience that Buck had when you guys are around him, but like how it's worked with him to bring the most out of this group. Could you sense any of that in the time that you spent with him?
I think he's really good at knowing the people he has around him, and being around him. That's what he knows. Like he realized he has incredible people in charge of hitting and pitching and all the analytics side that goes into it now. And he really is like, he just puts, I think Buck did an outstanding job of putting his players in a spot to succeed. That was always a big thing. It's like, I want to put the players in a spot to succeed. I think Brandon Hyde does a great job of not only the players, he puts his coaches in a spot to succeed where they can kind of have the freedom to work with guys. And I think that's kind of freed, this younger coaching staff up to be able to, like, this is what I've learned, take it and run with it. And the players have kind of embraced that. There's no ego involved with this team, which is great. It's like everybody, the analytics are a huge part of it, but the thing that surprised me most is like, but you've got to make this your own game. Like, we've drafted these talented players so that your talent can shine, and the coaches do a great job of presenting them information, but at the same time not taking away who they are as players, which I think Hyde's done a great job of, like, kind of just embracing that and just being like, I can be the guy who just facilitates that, and that's a huge role as a manager.
Dude, can I pick your brain about, like, baseball philosophy? I'm enjoying this so much right now, Matt Wieters. There's so much made about, and it's funny because we're talking about this with Adley, and there's even, I don't know if you were able to talk to Samuel Basayo. I know there's a language barrier too there, but there's so much made about what a catcher can accomplish offensively because there's so much else that's put on you. And you might be the perfect person to talk about this with, right? Because I don't know, like, does it impact what you're capable of doing as a hitter when you have a great bat because you carry such a burden of knowing the pitchers, almost having to be, a philosopher yourself as a catcher and bring the most out of guys and see the entirety of the field the way that you do? Does it carry a burden? Does it take anything away from what you're capable of doing and growing as a hitter because you have to spend so much more time doing things that other players don't have to do?
I don't think it has to. I think the nicks and the foul balls and the balls off the shoulders and stuff like that can take away a little bit from the offensive ability because catchers just are not going to feel naturally physically as good as some of the other positions at all times. But the mental side is something I think you can work through controlling, of being able to separate the two different realms. And it actually can be helpful for both sides. It can be helpful for your defensive side and your offensive side to have two different things. And in my career, I think probably the one thing that I wish I would have done more is try and tweak and improve the hitting side so much, because you think, okay, well, I've got to make sure I have, full mental ability and scouting reports and all this stuff for the defensive side. But that doesn't have to come at sacrificing the hitting side. Like I said, sometimes the foul balls off the toes and the shoulders,
right.
Those hurt being able to be able to take a good swing.
Right.
But the mental, and I would go through different phases in my career where it was great. When I was struggling, defense helped get me out of the struggles offensively. When I was doing well, I was still able to kind of separate and make sure defense was first. But there's also times it's just like, you've got to keep striving to get better. You're always striving to put together a game plan and a scouting report that changes kind of each series. You got to do the same thing for hitting. And hitting was easier for me to kind of sit back and just say, let's see what happens.
Yeah.
I wanted to kind of force the catching game planning side more. And I think looking back, you can do both. You can try and improve at both at separate times. And it's something that you have to learn. And there's going to be an incremental decrease in catchers hitting compared to other position players, but it doesn't have to be a huge drop-off, in my opinion.
As much as we talked about Adley last season, and deservedly so, it was interesting talking to a lot of the guys on the team about the role that James McCann played for this group. And frankly, even before that, a lot of them talked about Robinson Chirinos and the role that he played the year before that. I know, was it Kratz wrote that book, The Tao of the Backup Catcher, a couple years ago, and I think that it really taught us a lot about that. But did you get a sense, even in a short time, for how much James McCann helps for all of this, and like what that role means to a team for a veteran, someone who's done everything, to be the backup catcher and to take a little bit of that burden away maybe from Adley?
Yeah, and I think I've known Mac since at the end of my career and kind of the beginning stages of his career, and he's got a unbelievable perspective and head on his shoulders. And I think that can help. Yes, it helps with the scouting reports. It helps with different situations from the game. But just being able to keep a guy like Adley, just keep him focused on the right things and not let him get bogged down by the expectations or the negatives or the different things that are going to come your way when you're in his spot is more important than anything else that Matt can do. And I think Matt's a perfect guy for that role of just being able to be like, keep him honest and keep him humble, but at the same time, keep encouraging him. And that's kind of the mental side I see as the backup catcher more than anything else. And that's why I always felt like a veteran backup catcher is huge, because they get that side. They've seen the ups and downs, and they've seen what can go right and what can go wrong. So just being able to keep them mentally focused to where it gives the starter the best chance to succeed both physically and mentally night in, night out.
Is Jackson Holliday as impressive as everybody thinks he is? Like, not even from a baseball standpoint, but from like a human standpoint. I don't know how much you got to talk to him. I don't know if you know his family at all, Matt. Like, it just everything we continue to hear about this young man and the conversations that we have with him, he just seems so much like he's not a 20-year-old.
Yeah, there's a confidence, humbleness about him. He knows how good he is and how talented he is, but he's not going to shove it in your face. He's just going to go do it. And I respect any young guy in today's day and age where you have every social media platform telling you you're the greatest thing in the world, to be able to stay focused and grind at the same time, be able to be confident in your abilities. And I know Matt has done an outstanding, and Leslie have done a great job of raising that in him to where he can feel free to play as he wants to play, but also know there's going to be eyes on you. So you have to be able to handle yourself in the right manners. And tell you what, that was probably maybe more so than the type of workouts that young guys go to, is how they all kind of had that. They had fun, they had a good time, but it was a focused improvement each day they got there, and they enjoyed each other's company. It very much reminded me of the days with me and JJ and Adam Jones and Nick Markakis. Like, we enjoyed being around each other. 181 days didn't feel like 181 days, which is great.
Obviously, it was cool that you were there at the same time as Adam as well. That was a really neat thing. But did you happen to see the picture of Manny Machado and Hyun-Soo Kim from over in Seoul this week?
No.
Dude.
No, I didn't.
Like, the smiles those two dudes have on their faces. And Manny has got, like, this giant arm around, like a bear hug almost, around Hyun-Soo Kim. I'm telling you, and you can make fun of me and call me a nerdy baseball fan, like, it brought a tear to my eye. Like, it was such a beautiful thing to see how those relationships can maintain for so long and go over so many things. Like, that was just such a cool picture, I think, for, like, every Orioles fan to be like, wow, this really was a special time for everybody that was involved with it.
Yep. If you don't have those moments after you're done playing, it doesn't matter whether you won or not. Like, that's when you're done playing, that's what it's about, because it would have been the same look if we would have won the World Series as that we didn't, because when you're out of the competitiveness and out of the battle, it's really about who'd you get to meet, who'd you get to be around.
I feel like, I want to ask this question, but I know the answer for you guys was like, hey, health, having your players available. Because the question is, like, knowing how close you were, what's the best advice you could give to this team about what it takes to get to that next step and to be able to break through and win a World Series? And do you have a sense for, like, the difference between being good and being World Championship great?
I think the great teams don't really put much thought into what everybody else thinks they need to be doing to be better. I think they push each other enough to where we're going to get better today at something, and it's an accountability to that kind of coming into the clubhouse each day of, it doesn't matter whether you've won 10 games in a row or lost 10 games in a row. Are we getting better at something that's going to help us in the future? Mm-hmm. And I think most great teams do that. It's not play one game, that's great, celebrate it, and then there's a driven focus between the great teams and the good for a minute teams.
before I let you go, you mentioned you've been coaching. You've been back at Georgia Tech, right? You do the instructor role. We always associate catchers with great managers. Is this the path that you're thinking about at all? Is this foreshadowing a sign of things that you'd like to do in the future?
Right now, I have my hands full coaching middle school and high school baseball, along with it's more of a mentorship role at Georgia Tech, which I love. I love being around college kids and going through phases that they're going through. My managing role right now resides more in 7th and 8th graders, and that may be harder than managing
I was gonna
big
say,
league baseball.
why would you sign up for that, man?
Well, our school did not have a baseball team, and we had a lot of kids who wanted to play. I'm like, well, there's no reason we don't have a baseball team.
Wow.
So let's get it started.
That's cool.
So it's been fun, and like I said, it's just on this perspective of it, I enjoy the relationships, and I enjoy seeing kids grow more so necessarily. I always want to stay connected to the game because I love the chess match of baseball and love being able to put it together, and I'm enjoying watching my boys grow up now. And I'm not saying never, but maybe one day after that, so I try and figure out what it looks like to get back into it. But for the near future, I'm enjoying being at home, getting my fill of middle school and high school baseball, and enjoying watching my boys grow up.
All right, then give me a piece of, because my boys are playing. I got a 9-year-old and a 7 or 6-year-old, and they decided to switch. You know, lacrosse is a big deal here in Maryland, and they switched this fall or this spring. They wanted to play baseball instead of lacrosse. So I've been out like hitting grounders to them every day, and I've been doing everything I can. But give me a piece of advice about being a baseball dad with a 9-year-old and a 6-year-old.
Make it fun for them. I mean, that's as simple as I can put it. If you can give them small little tasks that can make it fun, whether it's throwing a ball off a wall and seeing how many short hops in a row they can catch, or just small tasks that make it fun for them, it will improve their skill set drastically, but it will keep them, like I said, you can always tell what your kid wants to do by when they come home. What do they do when they get home? And so I've never been one that told my boys, you have to play baseball, you have to do this. I literally will just watch them and ask them questions, and kids' brains are amazing things. If we can pry into them as parents, they'll tell you kind of what's driving them, and then it's our job to kind of encourage and accentuate that.
See, but I'm worried that the answer to that is just play Pokemon, and I'm just not sure that that's what I need to have my kids doing for the rest of it.
But that's what we got to make. If we make it fun and enjoyable, all kids are going to want to spend time with their dad. And then if they see their dad out there yelling at them, saying you have to do this, you have to do that, they're not going to want to do it. But if they're seeing their dad having a legitimate good time, no matter whether they catch the ball or don't catch the ball, but just enjoying them not playing Pokemon, going outside and playing baseball, then they're going to want to do it. And I really think we get so many times our parents get wrong of thinking that parents think that their kid playing baseball is their entertainment. That's not it. The kid playing baseball is for them to have fun and enjoy it. And we kind of think, well, they're not going to enjoy it if they don't have success. And I think, well, even kids that have success sometimes don't enjoy it. So let's make it fun for them first, and then we can kind of keep growing them as players.
Matt Wieters, I can't tell you how much I enjoyed this, man. And I'm a Matt Wieters fan, and that's the way it goes. And I've always appreciated our conversations, dude. Would love to talk again during the course of the season. Thanks for spending some time with us this morning, brother.
I appreciate it. Goes.
Matt Wieters. Man, that was cool. We could do that every day. That'd be fun. Just talking baseball with Matt Wieters. Nothing bad about that. Nothing bad about that. Can we take a break here? Is that all right? All right. We'll grab a break here. We'll come back in. We'll do County Sports Zone Radio, and we'll talk to Patrick Stevens about the NCAA Tournament. Today's show is also brought to you by Atman's Deli. I was so glad that I saved some pickles from the weekend. Still have a couple. I would offer one to Griffin, but I don't want to. It's just the way that it goes. I'm sorry. That would be
my own. Is what
that would be one less pickle for me, if that were the case. Maybe I could spare one. We'll see. I don't know. Maybe I'll think about it. If you are craving that New York deli experience, then you need to look no further than the new Atman's Deli in Baltimore's Harbor Point. They've got everything: the corned beef piled high, the hand-rolled bagels, the delicious soups, and they got something different at this Atman's because they have a bar. Atman's Harbor Point. Go to atmansdeli.com to see their daily specials. It is a Tuesday edition of Glenn Clark Radio.
The ultimate fan experience awaits you at Sports and Social Maryland. See how we're raising the sports bar with our massive 100-foot media wall featuring 40 HD TVs and a 47-foot big screen. Bet on your favorite teams and this year's biggest events at the FanDuel Sportsbook while enjoying your favorite beers and cocktails, plus our delicious takes on bar food classics. Visit Sports and Social at Live Casino and Hotel Maryland at Arundel Mills. Must be 21. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Hungry? With 7 locations throughout Maryland, Glory Days Grill is always right around the corner. They have wings, burgers, salads, sandwiches, and drinks to satisfy everyone, as well as tons of televisions and sound delivered right to your phone. Glory Days is the best place to watch football or whatever your favorite sport is. While you're there, be sure to check out Goose Flight's Lager, named in honor of legendary Raven Tony Goose Siragusa. $2 of every can is donated to the Goose Flights Foundation. Glory Days Grill. Great food, good sports.
Why bet with the big boys this football season? Instead, try your hand with the local book, Superbook Sports, this fall. Superbook Sports is the book next door. Just a dedicated team of the best odds makers in Las Vegas, making sure you get the best prices and parlays anywhere. And now, Superbook will give you a bonus of up to $250 when you sign up and wager on the same day and use the promo code GlennClark23, GLENNCLARK23. So bet with the best and use the promo code GlennClark23 this football season with Superbook Sports. Visit superbook.com for terms and conditions. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
6 chicken tenders made from fresh, never frozen Royal Farms world-famous chicken, a family-sized order of Western fries, honey mustard dipping sauce, and a 2-liter bottle of Dr. Pepper. It's Royal Farms' new Tucker's Tenders Meal. It's Justin Tucker's favorite, and at only $19.99, it'll be your favorite meal, too. The new Tucker's Tenders Meal, available only at Royal Farms. Now you can kick back, relax, and eat like a champion. Real fresh, real fast, Royal Farms.
The Toyota Tacoma comes in a range of models and trim lines, so you can choose the perfect Tacoma to reflect your unique personality and driving habits. Check out buyatoyota.com for deals on new Tacomas from your local Toyota dealer today.
Gambling can be a fun and entertaining experience, but there are risks involved. If you're planning on betting on the game at the casino or on your phone or computer, know your limit, stay within it. Set a budget and a time to stop. Remember, gambling isn't a financial solution, and it doesn't mix well with alcohol or drugs. Know the risks and have a plan before you begin gambling. For free and confidential services, call 1-800-GAMBLER 24/7 or go to helpmygamblingproblem.org.
Jeremy Kahn here. The ultimate sports betting experience in Maryland is at the Green Turtle Bet Park Sportsbook. Join me at either location in Canton or in Towson and place your bets in person and be a part of the action. It's the best in-class sports wagering experience, complete with the ultimate TV package, ensuring you can catch every game all day, every day. Their state-of-the-art facilities bring Las Vegas energy right here to Maryland just in time for postseason football. So visit the Green Turtle Bet Park Sportsbook in Canton and Towson and elevate your game day experience and hang out with me to bet, watch, and win at the Turtle.
What company has the expertise to make your home healthier by purifying your air and killing all viruses, allergens, and bacteria? A.J. Michaels, Heating and Air Conditioning in Baltimore and Annapolis, ajmichaels.com.
Coming back in here with Glenn and the other guy, Garrett, whatever his name is. You know who they are.
All right, back in here in GCR. You want to pull that picture up for people that didn't see it. If you didn't happen to see it, this is, of course, the Dodgers and the Padres are playing 2 games in Seoul this week to start the baseball season. And beforehand, they're playing exhibitions. And I don't know the name of the team that Hyun-Soo Kim is with now, but
It says Twins on his jersey. So is it the? I don't know.
I don't know. But there you go. Manny Machado and Hyun-Soo Kim reunited, and it's not just seeing them together. It's the smiles. Like, look at those smiles, man. That is the good ass. Like, that's inject that into my veins, man. That is awesome. And it was a really cool thing to see. It put a big smile on my face. Hey, whether you're celebrating a special milestone, entertaining clients, or simply enjoying a night out, count on Ruth's Chris to deliver to you the finest steaks, the best service, and a level of hospitality that has made Ruth's Chris one of the most revered names in steak since 1965. Make your reservation right now at ruthschris.com. All right, we good?
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
It was championship weekend in the state high school basketball playoffs. They crown champions at every level. Let's discuss what occurred down in College Park and more. It's time for County Sports Zone Radio. Joining us from County Sports Zone, he is Wes Brown. Wes, good morning. How you doing, man?
Good. How are you?
I'm great. So let's just go through it. Give me the rundown for folks that don't know who the state champions were and what stood out most from championship weekend.
Yeah. So down at each level, we had 8 champions throughout the whole state. Evanston West Side, Largo, Northeast from Anne Arundel County, and Frederick, one on the boys' side, and then Pikesville, Hammond, Poly, and Clarksburg over on the girls' side. So a solid split of winners from more the DC region, the Baltimore region, but definitely a great weekend of basketball throughout.
Let's talk about a couple of the champions from the weekend, kind of like a dynasty that Pikesville has built.
Yeah. So, I've seen it for the past few years here out of COVID. This year's win made it a 4-peat. They were trailing early. It was a little back and forth. You weren't sure what was going to happen. But then they grabbed control there at the end. So they won 1 title pre-COVID. And now, 3 titles since then. So, yeah, kind of a dynasty there. And then Hammond girls went ahead and did the lone undefeated season in the MPSSAA.
Pretty impressive.
Just the second out of Howard County as well. So good stuff there. And then obviously on the girls' side, there was also an upset of BCC there with Clarksburg winning in a battle of Montgomery County teams that made the state championship in the 4A level.
Yeah, on the boys' side, you mentioned Northeast, so they were down big late.
Yeah, 14-point comeback, I believe, from in the final 6 minutes.
Wow.
The coach and some of the players were talking after the game about the, resiliency they put together throughout the season. They knew it was going to be tough. They knew they didn't, they weren't going to quit. And yeah, they kind of just, put it all together. Cameron Albury had a 25-point game, and there seemed to be nothing that they could do down the stretch to stop him. He hit a nice finger roll lay in from little ways away from the basket there at the very end to seal it. So definitely a fun game there. And then last game of the championship weekend was Frederick boys. They came in there against Walt Whitman that obviously advanced on a buzzer beater in the semifinals. But after a little bit of a slow start, they kind of just dominated throughout the game. 6 title in program history, but the first since 1982. So it was nice to break that streak and get back out on top.
That's really cool. And then as far as a player or athlete of the week, I feel like this is a name that is relevant perhaps for Maryland basketball fans moving forward.
Yeah, certainly. Cam Ward, Jr. out of Largo, 29 points, 16 rebounds, 6 blocks, 5 steals, 2 assists. Pretty much did it all.
Stuffing the stat sheet. That's not bad.
Yeah. It's also good having it. He was at the University of Maryland. They lost last year in the championship there. And came back, won this one. He mentioned after the game, this is what he wanted to do. He wanted to win a state title at Largo. He mentioned, his parents each have one, but now he has one for himself. So it was good to see that. And he kind of openly talked about choosing a public school over private schools and all those opportunities. So it's going to be interesting to see if, he decides to stick it out another year or if he feels like he's accomplished those tasks. But definitely put his best foot forward there on the stage at Xfinity.
And for those that don't know, someone who's he's a 4-star prospect. He's someone who's receiving a lot of attention from the University of Maryland as they try to keep a local talent home. But it ain't just Maryland who's in on Cam Ward. There's a lot of programs, and to Wes's point, certainly will be interesting to see if more programs end up getting on board, particularly if he were to end up going elsewhere. But no matter what, obviously a huge accomplishment for him and for Largo winning that state title. All right, Wes Brown is with us. It's County Sports Zone Radio here on GCR. So that does it for basketball season, Wes. Paint me the picture of what this now looks like as we transition into lacrosse, baseball, softball here in the state of Maryland.
Yeah, so obviously we've had some MIA play start this month, but things are really going to kick into gear here with, all the public schools starting play on Thursday. So, yeah, we're going to have, all the scores, all the schedules, and all that stuff coming up. So, yeah, baseball, softball, both lacrosses. Montgomery County's got boys volleyball, so there's going to be a ton of sports action here over the next few months leading into championship May.
And you can find, of course, all that at countysports.zone. And you guys are still going to be doing Pick'em for lacrosse, correct?
Yeah, so we're currently trying to roll out Pick'em for baseball and then eventually lacrosse. But yeah, hopefully getting those up here soon.
So Pick'em for baseball and for lacrosse. Of course, countysports.zone to find all the schedules and the scores as they start. It's all brought to you by your local Toyota dealer and buyatoyota.com. And, of course, Wes, remind everybody about social media for you and for CSZ.
Yep. So for CSZ, you can find everything at CSZ Scores on Twitter, Instagram, County Sports Zone on Facebook, and I'm at W_Brown21.
Wes Brown, appreciate you as always, man. Let's talk again next week, and we'll start thinking about spring sports. All right.
All right. Sounds good.
Thanks, Wes. Wes Brown with us here on GCR for County Sports Zone Radio. The transfer portal also officially opened yesterday, as we were talking about with Jeff Ehrman. And I think I saw 450 names already in the transfer portal
everyone,
in college basketball.
It's not
all that surprising. I mean, it's just the way that it works. I saw two things that were topics. Man, I got a few things that were on my list from yesterday that I didn't get to. A couple of things that were topics of conversation yesterday. One that you're just not going to get me to care about is like people are worked up about the idea of schools declining bids to the NIT. I don't care. You can't get me to care. Carolina did that a year ago, right? And now they're a number 1 seed in the NCAA tournament. So I like, you can't get me to draw any parallel between a school's willingness to participate in the, like, is there a benefit for them? I don't know. There's so much turnover anymore in college basketball that, like, for each school, I could certainly see for like a power conference school that struggled for a couple of years, and let's say last year, Maryland didn't make the NCAA tournament. I could see where it would make sense for them to say yes to the NIT because you're trying to show that you're on the upswing, right? Like that you're moving in the right direction. But how much interest would Maryland really have had in, like, let's just say they happened to win one more, they beat Penn State and so now they have an over 500 record and they could get, I'm not saying they would have gotten an invite to the NIT, but they could have gotten an invite to the NIT at that point. To do what? To drag this thing out?
And people are getting worked up about it, and do they even watch it? Like, how many people are watching this thing? And then people feel like they have the right to.
I just don't know why do you I understand why the NCAA cares, because they now run the NIT and they clearly want it to be a moneymaker because they're not letting the mid-major programs be a part of it any longer. So for them, like, it's imperative that these power conference teams be a part of it because they kicked out all of the teams that would actually have interest in it. Like, if Towson was playing in the NIT, everybody related to Towson would pay attention.
Yep.
Not saying that they wouldn't have gotten in the NIT. They, of course, did the year that they won the CAA because the rule was that the regular season champion got a berth in it. I don't have an answer for you. I don't care. Sorry. I have no opinion about this subject. Do not. Given the fact that the portal opened yesterday, I could absolutely understand, and that's where the conversation sort of moves into. A lot of people say this is ridiculous. This is sort of like what we talk about with the NFL and, like, coaching interviews. You're preparing for the biggest game of the year while your coordinator is preparing for something else that might be the biggest interview of his life. It shouldn't be that way. And I understand the problem that people have with the portal opening before the season is over. It's the same deal. These coaches want to get ready for these games they're playing. They're the most important games of their lives in the NCAA tournament, while at the exact same time,
their star for next season is available right now. And talking to Maryland, who's not in it.
It's problematic. I see why they don't like this. And so particularly if you're a power conference team that's gotten an invite to the NIT, I can see where a coach would be like, hey, we kind of have to worry about other things. We got to worry about how we're going to make our team better next year so we're not invited to the NIT. It's incongruent. It's a mistake for college basketball to allow the portal to open before the NCAA tournament is over. It's not right. And you're going to be hard-pressed for me to explain why the 3 weeks would make that much of a difference. You got to cool your jets. Is the problem that these kids haven't been going to class? Well, like, they can not go to class for 3 more weeks. They can go home for 3 weeks. Like, it's 3 weeks that we're talking about. You can wait. Open the portal the morning after the NCAA championship game. This is not the way to do it. Not the way. So, on that one, I have an opinion. On the NIT thing, I do not. I don't care whether a program goes to the NIT or not. I don't care at all. I do think that it was a mistake for the NCAA to kick the mid-majors out. I think that was stupid because those are the programs where you can't get them to care. I think that was insane. And I think that getting the fans of the big programs to be invested in the NIT is something that simply will never happen. So that's the only take I have about that. Into hour number 2 here on GCR. A reminder that Goose Flights is available all over town. You can see a list of the locations by going to PressBoxOnline.com/GooseFlights. It is a delicious lager, and it goes to honor the legacy of Tony Siragusa. And $1.98 from every can sold goes to benefit the Goose Flights Foundation and what they're trying to do to provide non-emergency medical transport for those in need. So go to PressBoxOnline.com/GooseFlights. It's done in partnership with Guilford Hall Brewery. I've told you the list of places, but you can go see it right now, PressBoxOnline.com/GooseFlights. And Atman's Harbor Point is being added to that list this week, where you'll be able to get Goose Flights as well. So go check it out there. It is Tuesday. Every Tuesday we talk college sports with our friend and a man, Mr. 68 for 68, Washington Post, USA Lacrosse Magazine, at Discourse, D1S Course on Twitter. He is Patrick Stevens, and he's back with us now here on GCR. Patrick, good morning, my friend. How are you?
Not rested enough.
Yeah, I figured that was probably the case. Are you headed anywhere this week, or are you what's that look like for you?
No, actually, I do not believe I will. I'm going to D.C. later today for lacrosse.
Okay.
And I think I will be at the Duke-Denver lacrosse game on Sunday.
That's at Spalding, right?
That's at Spalding, correct.
Yeah.
So that's a home game for me, especially
right.
In northern Anne Arundel County at Discourse headquarters. But yeah, I will not be traveling anywhere for the tournament beyond my living room.
All right, let's deal with it because I know that you've been dealing with trolls. I've actually greatly enjoyed Patrick Stevens' battles with the trolls this week on social media, the St. John's people in particular. I've gotten great entertainment out of that, so I owe you a thank you. The people that are coming after the committee, you went 68 for 68, so clearly you think they picked the right teams. Based on whatever the rules are for picking teams, why are the trolls wrong about the job that the committee did this year as far as picking the teams is concerned?
Well, the people that are I'm wondering whether I should go off my usual script and say a few things. Maybe we can talk later about, because I feel like you personally deserve to hear the sort of entertaining description of all of this. And it might not be a good idea for me to say it publicly.
All right.
So we're gonna put it this way.
All
like,
right.
you look at the Big East, and that's really where a lot of the complaining's coming from. But Seton Hall went 13-7 in the league. But St. John's did this. But Providence did that. And I actually feel like Providence has kind of there's a sympathetic argument there for them, because they actually went out and won 6 quad 1 games, and they finished a game behind St. John's in the Big East standings and 3 behind Seton Hall. And while conference record is not part of the criteria, you can at least look at it in the Big East since it's a double round robin. So Providence actually had a better set of victories than those 2 other teams had, and one of their problems was that their best player got hurt in early January. And so some of the stuff they did in non-conference play in particular probably didn't retain as much value as they would have liked. In particular, a victory over I think it was Wisconsin at the very first week or so of the season. So they got them, and they got Marquette in late December. So that's what hurt Providence. Seton Hall, decent set of victories, but they didn't really beat that many teams in the field. They got Connecticut, which, there's not many of those floating around, and they got Marquette. But the other victories they had against the tournament field were St. Peter's and Wagner. So, yeah, they won 4 games against the tournament field, but it was they basically were living off of 2 home victories in non-conference play, and that was pretty much it. As for St. John's, the people that were sitting around saying, "Oh, but St. John's won 6 of its last 7 games," that's very true. And 3 of them were against Georgetown and DePaul.
Eek.
And so scheduling serendipity should not help you. It should not be an asset.
Yeah.
You happen to get your layups later in league play. The other thing about St. John's, it went 1-7 against the eventual tournament field. So they had as many victories against eventual tournament teams as they did Hall of Fame coaches hating the experience of being on their sideline this season.
Yeah.
All right? So like the timing of that rant, by the way, was always so suspicious. I'm not to say that it was frustrating for them to lose to Seton Hall in mid-February and blow a lead and all that. But Rick Pitino's not a moron. He knew he had those 2 Georgetowns and a DePaul coming up, and it was all set up for St. John's to make a little bit of a push there at the end of the season, even though they were 14-12 at that point, and for everybody to say, "Oh, what a master motivator.
Yep,
The man
yep,
still has it."
yep.
And what happened? They made a push, and there was a whole hubbub about how he was a master motivator and knew how to push all the buttons, and then he still had it. And understand, too, Glenn, this is the stuff that I'm willing to say on the air.
Right.
You can only imagine what I'm not willing to say. Okay? So St. John's just did not have enough. And the fact that the committee only had one of those teams among the last 4 out, and that was Seton Hall. So, Seton Hall had 3 veteran guards that were really good. And I certainly have some sympathy for Providence because I thought Kim English did a really good job of salvaging what looked like it could be a real mess for them. And Devin Carter played fabulously for the Friars. And Seton Hall, certainly had some moments. St. John's, there just wasn't that much there. And so another thing that's worth mentioning with those Big East teams is the double round robin is usually an asset. You play Marquette twice, you play UConn twice, you play Villanova, who's usually good, twice, you play Creighton twice, all that. But you also get to play Georgetown and DePaul twice, and that's not so good. Imagine, if you're playing Georgetown and DePaul, the amazing part about that is that it would be as if you were scheduling a home and home against Tennessee Martin and Coastal Carolina, because those are the teams 1 spot ahead of Georgetown and DePaul in the net. Now, Tennessee Martin actually won 20 games in the Ohio Valley, and their coach got a new job, so that's not a terrible thing. Coastal Carolina's coach retired in the middle of the season, and they won 7 games against Division I teams. There's no getting around the fact that the DePaul comparison is not going to be very good.
Yep.
So, that hurts that you have 4 of those games that are basically empty calories on your profile. And so you have people puffing themselves up saying, "Well, we won 13-7 in the Big East." Well, you went 9-7 against real teams, boss. If you're St. John's, 11-9, 7-9 against teams that actually had a pulse, boss. So, that's something that the league itself can look at too. Like, those were real problems. And it's not St. John's fault or Seton Hall's fault
so bad,
or Providence's fault
Yeah.
that Georgetown and DePaul were as bad as they were.
Yeah.
But they still had to play them a combined 4 times. There were only, I think, 7 or 8 power conference, including the Big East, teams that finished with a net worse than 135. And the reason I used that cutoff was if you play a team 136 or worse on the road, that was at best a quad 3 game rather than a quad 2 game.
Okay.
So, like, usually you get at least a little bit of a benefit from playing just about anybody in your league in a power conference on the road. The only teams outside of the Big East that played 4 conference games against teams on that list were Florida, which had home and homes against Vanderbilt and Missouri, and Arkansas, which got to 4 with the conference tournament and had 4 games total against Vanderbilt and Missouri. And then the entire Big East did. Like, that was a strength of schedule hit that really, it hurt them. It devalued them. And then, of course, you beat all the teams in your league, and you're winning devalued games along the way because those Georgetown and DePaul games just acted as anchors statistically.
Let me cover a couple of things. Patrick Stevens is with us on GCR. One more about the selection. I heard Kim English on Sunday night, and I apologize, Patrick. You're going to have to explain it to me because I don't know exactly what part of the factor it is, but he was talking about score differential and why it's a problem for him, and he thinks it's a problem for the sport because it seems like there's a benefit for teams to just like leave their players on the floor for longer in games that they shouldn't be leaving their players on the floor for when they're up by 15 with a few minutes left to play in a game. It's something like that. Does he have a point when it comes to that? Not necessarily that Providence that should have put Providence in.
Yeah, he does have a point. And when the net was unveiled in 2019, it specifically had like a margin of victory factor that went up to like 10 points or something like that. And everybody was joking at the time that the sort of coaches that are particularly attuned to that sort of thing, and Buzz Williams was one of those that everybody kind of pointed to. It's like, oh, he's gonna make sure he's winning all these close games by 10 or 12 points rather than by 8 or something like that. And the NCAA got around to taking it out, sort of, because one of the big factors in the net is offensive and defensive efficiency numbers.
Mm-hmm.
Well, let's just kind of do a basic bit of math here. Like, if you outscore somebody by half a point a possession over the course of a full game, and it's a 70 possession game, then you're winning by 35.
Right.
Okay? Every time up and down the floor you're picking up half a point, that's a 35-point victory. Now, the other element to this is the way that teams schedule. Now, I've thrown this caveat out repeatedly over the last couple months, which is it's easy to go ahead and sit there and say, well, I'm going to go ahead and schedule soft and go win a bunch of games by 40 points. Well, it's not easy to win games by 40 points. Like, it just isn't against nearly anybody. There are a handful of teams that you can feel reasonably confident that if you have a good team that you're going to go out and beat the snot out of. But there's not that many of them. I mean, we can sit here and say, well, you probably would have thought if you were playing Coppin State this year that you were going to go beat them by 40. And while Virginia Tech did, Louisville beat them by 20, and Georgetown beat them by 17, and Maryland beat them by 22. So it's not that, and Coppin, not to pick on a local team or anything, but they went 2-27, and they were one of the worst teams in the country.
Yep.
So if those teams can't just if a team like that can keep it within 25 of 3 of the 4 power conference teams that it faces, it's sort of an illustration. It's not easy just to go hammer somebody no matter what. So, one of the things that happened this year is there were an inordinate number of Big 12 schools that played soft schedules and went out and hammered just about everybody. I think some of them were done because schools didn't know, what they had with their roster, just because that's the way things are these days. You want to give yourself a little bit of time to get your roster sorted out because it's all these new dudes year after year. I think there was at least one team that has and I'm speaking of TCU in this case, that has a recent history of just playing bad non-conference schedules. So I think it was probably intentional there that they played a bad non-conference schedule. And you have other reasons for it, like you had teams that were moving up from the American, and they probably wanted to get their footing a little bit, like a Cincinnati, to kind of figure things out. But the bottom line was that throughout the whole last 2.5 months, it looked like the Big 12 was going to be a league that got 9, maybe even 10 teams into the tournament. It turned out to be 8 because Oklahoma kind of had the same problem that St. John's did. It went 2-11 in games against the tournament field, and it won both of those games at home. So, I feel like that's like the subtle indicator that isn't on the team sheet because you don't know who's actually going to be in the field. But you can look at it and say, well, what's the best way to say who's going to do well against the tournament field? Well, look how they've done during the regular season against the teams that are in the tournament field.
Yep.
So anyway, back on the point with the analytics, because I just got off course there.
No.
But there is definitely in the net and in some of the predictive metrics in particular, a built-in advantage to winning games by more points. It's inescapable. Now, I do think that the result-based metrics don't take that into account nearly as much. And more importantly, that's what I think the committee looks at closer. So a strength of record or a KPI number is actually a little more significant to the committee than like a KenPom number, because the point is you're trying to select the best teams. You're not trying to predict, who's going to win these games.
Right.
You're not trying to. This is not for that purpose. So, I think Kim certainly has a point, and I do think that the interesting part of the net metric is that there's no formula that's ever been revealed for it. And part of that is I believe that the formula actually doesn't stay the same year over year. As you get more data that you can apply, a year's worth of data. They're not changing the formula in the middle of a season, but you get a year's worth of data that you can say, okay, well, is there a way that we can adjust this to make this more appropriate, more fair, all that other stuff, which I think is well-intentioned. I don't think the NCAA has ever talked about this stuff, but the fact is that that's the reason that would make the most sense for trying to make tweaks and adjustments and what have you to what they're doing.
All right, these I promise are going to be quick hitters, so we'll go the other way.
Okay, I'll try.
I know.
To keep myself short.
No, and by the way, this is fantastic information, Patrick, and so I'm totally. If you don't have to be anywhere, I appreciate you giving it to me. I try to respect your time and not keep you for too long because you're not getting paid for this, so I try to do that the fair way. Is the Mountain West as good as the field would make it seem that it is? And is there a team in that group that's most likely to be this year's San Diego State? Maybe San Diego State.
Well, the funny thing is the Mountain West somehow pulled off the impossible, or the committee pulled off the impossible regarding the Mountain West. The Mountain West got 6 teams, and yet 5 of them got shafted in their season.
Right.
So San Diego State, bizarrely, because they did not play. They were not as good as last year, and they were a 5 seed just like last year. I mean, they were arguable. I think I had them as the second best team seeding wise, but that was just with a little bit of skepticism. I feel like Boise State has played fabulously for the last several months. I think Nevada has played really well. Colorado State has one of the best point guards in the country in Isaiah Stevens. New Mexico's on a burner. Utah State has been really, really good under Danny Sprinkle, who essentially had to stitch an entirely new roster together. I talked to him over the summer for my work for Blue Ribbon, and there was very much a sense of, well, we'll see how it works out. And he brought a couple guys with him from Montana State, so there was at least some built-in certainty on that point. But I would tell you the team that I kind of like both in terms of how they've played over the course of the season, especially over the last couple months, and the draw that they got was Boise State. Okay. They're old. They're really, really old. And they had won going into the Mountain West tournament. They had won 6 out of 7. They deny offensive rebounds. They're a really good defensive team. Their coach was a longtime Mark Few assistant, but has been at Boise now for a little while. This is the year for them to make a run if they're ever going to make it. So that's the team that I thought got shafted the most in seeding, being stuck in a play-in game. And you go look up their reaction to seeing their name go up on the board.
Yeah.
Like it was total befuddlement. Like what? But they get Colorado tomorrow, and I do think that they might have a run in them. If there's a team out of Dayton that I like to be able to make a push at them.
Okay. Is this the year that the fortune changes for the Big Ten in any way, either Illinois or Purdue?
I don't have much faith there. And I think that I have some skepticism about Illinois, even though they played really well over the weekend. No getting around that. I do wonder, are they going to score with BYU if they get that matchup? Can they score enough against Iowa State in a Sweet 16 game is the other question that I would ask there. I do think Purdue makes it out of the second weekend, and they actually might have caught a break with Kansas being walking wounded and Gonzaga being a bit overseeded as a possible Sweet 16 matchup. I don't expect Kansas to make it out of the first round against Samford personally, but
wow.
Well, how about this? Kansas has basically got like 6 healthy players.
Yeah, I know.
And Samford runs a top 15 tempo and uses like the 3rd or 4th most bench minutes in the country.
Okay.
Like that you could not have asked for a worse matchup if you're Kansas. But as for Purdue,
hang on a second.
A
reminder that Nick Timberlake will be joining GCR a little bit later on this hour.
Well,
I won't mention that.
Hey, at least he gets to experience the tournament, man.
That is true.
And
that
that's
is
awesome.
True.
That's awesome for
That
Nick.
is true.
But Purdue's one of those teams. Like they have to prove it, man.
Yeah.
Like they got Zach Edey, and that's great, and the guards are better with Lawyer and Smith and all that. But they got to prove it now. Like this is really where their season starts. Like it sounds horrible to say that about a team that's the number 1 seed and has won what? They win 28, 29 games over the course of the season. I'm looking it up now, but I feel like 29. It's horrible to say that about 29 and 14. But given what it has done in the postseason the last 3 years, this is what they're getting judged on. And, at this point, believe it when you see it.
The best first-round matchup for you is?
Whew. I like that. I'm going to give a few because I haven't given it really too much thought here. I think Washington State Drake is a great game.
Okay.
I think that's definitely one to keep an eye on. I think South Carolina Oregon could be a lot of fun. The Kansas Samford game I just mentioned, Gonzaga and McNeese should be a lot of fun. I think there's a couple more. Clemson, New Mexico. I'm trying to think if there's somebody like one of those 3-14 games that might be, I'll say this, like Kentucky doesn't defend anybody and Oakland has one of the savvier coaches in the country in Greg Campy. It would not be the most astonishing thing in the world if Oakland made things interesting against the Wildcats.
Player the majority of the country doesn't know about that by Sunday night you'd be surprised if we didn't know about.
Ooh. Giving me these quick hitters that I actually have to think about here. This is tricky to try to give you the right answer to something like this. Might be Isaiah Stevens from Colorado State.
Yeah.
Might be Keenan Blackshear from Nevada. Might be honestly Tyon Grant Foster from Grand Canyon. Might be the answer to that one.
Wow.
Great story too. He JUCO to Kansas to DePaul, played one game at DePaul, had a medical event at halftime of the season opener, missed all of the rest of that season, all of last season, got cleared, pops up at Grand Canyon, kind of like the Keontae Johnson kid from Florida to Kansas State last year.
Right.
Ends up the WAC Player of the Year.
Whew, that is a great story. Wow, that is a really
you're not gonna find too many that are better than that.
That is a really good one. That would be devastating for my St. Mary's to the Final Four pick, but that's a hell of a story. The juiciest 10 or below seed that could make a run in this tournament.
10 or below seed, James Madison maybe.
Okay. Yep.
I mean they're pretty good, 31-3. I mentioned Boise State earlier as a possibility on that front. The last two times that Oregon made a surprise Pac-12 tournament run in 2013 and 2019, they got double-digit seeds in the NCAA tournament and made the Sweet 16. So they're in 11, going to play South Carolina and then Creighton. One problem for Oregon is the West Coast to East Coast thing, which I guess they're going to get used to a little bit more here pretty soon.
Yeah, there's going to be a lot of that.
There's going to be a lot of that. So that's one of those teams. And, we talked about, Samford possibly knocking off Gonzaga. McNeese is pretty good too. And so, that's a team that won 30 games. Maybe they're able to knock off Gonzaga and suddenly put themselves in a spot to make it to the Midwest Regional as well.
All right, and this is phenomenal. I could actually do this for hours more. Next year we might maybe do a different show the week of the. I just realized that I like this so much that we might make it an in-studio show next year and do it like we do the preview show, and we'll pay you for it and the whole thing because we could do this for a long time. Let's play the game, though, before I let you go. Let's get into it. Can Patrick Stevens name the MLB teams this player or manager was with? And I begin with a manager, and we got to go back a little ways. 6 stops. John McNamara was the manager that I had in line.
Wow. Okay, so John McNamara was definitely with the Angels.
Certainly was.
He was definitely with Oakland.
Yep.
He was definitely with Boston.
Yep.
Those are the 3 that immediately come to mind. There were 3 other stops for John McNamara.
He actually finished somewhere else, 90 and 91, and I did not remember this either. I remembered nothing post-Boston.
Okay. 90 and 91. He was in Cleveland at the end, wasn't he?
Certainly was. And then you got a 74 to 77 and a 79 to 82.
Cincinnati was the 77 to 82.
Yeah.
And then was he in San Diego?
Look at that, 6 for 6 on John McNamara. Well done, sir. Well done. A little bit. I got 2 pitchers that both have the same first name. We begin with the 5-team one, who I put him on the list because I did not realize he was attempting a comeback this year with a team that he has previously played for. Jake Odorizzi is the pitcher.
Jake Odorizzi, yikes. Tampa for sure.
Of course, which is the team he's back with, and I did not realize that.
Okay. Minnesota for sure.
Absolutely.
This gets kind of tricky because, the rest of it isn't exactly a whole lot of.
Not a lot. There's
a whole lot of greatness.
There's
right?
there's a 2-year stint in there, and the rest were 1 season or less. The other 2.
All right. Was he in Kansas City? Was he one of those guys that went from Kansas?
He started in Kansas City. I had no recollection of that whatsoever. None.
So I'm guessing he was in the Shields deal, basically.
That would make sense.
Or a Will Myers trade or whatever. So that's 3. Was he in San Diego?
Not in San Diego, no. By the way, he was in Zach Greinke. Hang on.
Okay.
Wait a second. Wait. No, that's how he ended up in Kansas City. He started. He didn't play for the Brewers, but he was in the Brewers system and was in a Zach Greinke deal. He was in. You were right about Will Myers. Here we go. Odorizzi to Tampa in exchange with Mike Montgomery, Patrick Leonard, and Will Myers for James Shields and Wade Davis. Well done. Well done.
Was Odorizzi in Houston?
That was the one. That was the one I remembered. That was 21 and 22. He then was at the end of the 22 season. You know, Griffin?
Yes, he was a Houston Astro.
No, he just got that.
Oh, he did?
Yeah, he literally just said that. The Atlanta Braves was where he wrapped up 2022.
Oh,
and then Jake Arrieta is the other one. The other Jake. Jake Arrieta, 4 teams for him.
Well, Baltimore.
Yep.
The Cubs.
Of course.
The Phillies.
Absolutely.
And was it? I'm blanking. I have 3 teams that I feel like it could be for that last slot. Was he in Texas at the end?
No.
It was at San Diego.
It was San Diego in 2021. Okay. That was where it ended for him. All right, so lacrosse this week for you tonight. So who's that? I don't even know. I guess it's got to be Georgetown, right, tonight?
Georgetown and Dartmouth. Just getting a look. It's funny, the basketball season going as late as it has, I haven't gotten to see a whole lot of lacrosse. Although I did see Maryland and Virginia on Saturday.
Okay.
Managed to squeeze that in. And then that Denver Duke game. I think I might pop over to Annapolis to see Navy for the first time.
Obviously.
On Saturday they play Holy Cross.
Yeah, they look like they've righted the ship a bit here in recent weeks. Navy has. They got a big one tonight against Villanova too. All right, at Discourse, D1S Course is how you follow him. Patrick Stevens, really appreciate it, man. That was great stuff. Thank you for spending a couple extra minutes with us this morning.
Thanks so much, Glenn. Take care.
Patrick Stevens with us here on GCR. Man, that was gold, right? Yeah, we're doing that. We're making a show out of it next year.
Yeah, that'll be an easy.
I mean, hopefully there'll be a local team involved.
Yes.
That will make it more compelling to do it next year. But I just realized that I had 6 other quick hitters on my list that we didn't even get to.
Quick hitters, yeah.
With Patrick. Well, that's the thing.
Right.
It's the what's the juiciest sub 12 upset in the first round. But he was giving us enough with I guess Samford probably would have been his answer based on the fact that he told us that he thinks Samford is going to beat Kansas. And Nick Timberlake will join us here in just a couple of minutes. Yeah, that was fascinating. That was a fascinating breakdown from our buddy Patrick Stevens. Appreciate him taking the time to do that. And where else are you going to watch the tournament but with us? Hang out with us on Thursday. Come join us. Invite our friend. Invite our lap walker.
Did she see you pointing? It looked like she was like.
Oh, did she look up?
Yeah, she looked at. She was like.
See if she wants to come hang out and watch the games. I just have so many questions that I've always wanted to ask. We'll be at Sports and Social on Thursday, starting at noon. So again, Thursday's show will be a little bit earlier, 9 to 11 a.m. And then we're going to duck out of here and head down to Hanover to watch the games from 12 to 4. Let's go beach. Millions of beaches for me, millions of beaches for free. Zippity doodah, zippity. We're doing the whole thing. We're Akron and Long Beach guys on Thursday.
Man, that beach win will be.
That'd
be sweet.
I didn't pick either one of them in my bracket.
Oh, you're gonna make 30 of them, right? So
I didn't. Yeah, I don't think I'm gonna do 30.
Well, you have to. I mean, you get 25 on the ESPN app, so you got to make all of them. Because what if you get one? What if you go, 60 for 60 or whatever?
That's a good point. I
win $1 million.
I could win $1 million. Anyway, we'll be there from 12 to 4. Great food specials all day long. First of all, it's just the best place to go to watch the game. You're going to spend your day watching basketball no matter what. And I'm not saying you can't do it at home. You can do it at home. But it's such an the atmosphere with everybody living and dying, short of being at the games themselves. And having gone to NCAA tournament games over the year, I would tell you the atmosphere for most of them kind of stinks. Because, especially in the early going, the people that are there rooting for one specific team don't always come into the arena for the other game. And the people that are interested in being there for the games don't really have a rooting interest, so they're not really rabid. The atmosphere is not always great for the NCAA tournament. But the atmosphere is always great at Sports and Social, where everybody has rooting interest because they're betting on the games. So everyone is living and dying with every shot in every game. That's why you need to be there with us. Sports and Social, inside Live Casino and Hotel, this Thursday. We're going to have great giveaways, Sports and Social swag, Live Casino swag. Baseball tickets will be given away on Thursday. Griffin, I'm sorry, you're not eligible to win.
What?
By the way, I got to bring that up, too, because I got a situation unfolding. But you're partly responsible for, so I got to address that. But we got baseball tickets to give away. We got Royal Farms gift cards to give away. We got lots of stuff to give away on Thursday. And on top of just the amazing atmosphere and the awesome time that you're going to have at Sports and Social, you also have these great food and drink specials that are going to be available to you. So encourage you to not just be there, But encourage you to go ahead and make your plans. You can reserve a table by going to the Live Casino and Hotel Sports and Social website. They have an open table. You can reserve your table for the afternoon. If you want to get a reclining chair or a group of reclining chairs for you and your friends, I just get there early. Like, make sure. There's going to be a great crowd. It's going to be awesome. But get there a little bit early on Thursday. Enjoy some delicious food. Settle in. Watch the games. Maybe take advantage of I told you about it yesterday, the three-pointer for $100, a giant beer tower, plus 24 wings, plus an order of nachos. All for just $100.
It's pretty good.
Are you trying to convince me that's what we should do on Thursday? That's what you're trying to convince me of?
Yeah. Could win that $100 back pretty easily.
Yeah.
Long Beach.
Those are our guys. We're going, let's go beach. Yeah, I need you to put together a series of bets for us on Thursday. Don't lose.
Beach getting 20.5.
Yeah, right. That's the
lock.
plug. So come hang out with us at Sports and Social this Thursday for the start of the basketball event. For the start of the college hoops showcase thing. Not being there would be madness. Come hang out with us Thursday afternoon. Speaking of that college hoop showcase.
That's the end of the college hoop showcase.
Yes, we can now talk about why.
We can't call it the big dance?
I don't know if they have that one or not. They definitely have March Madness. They definitely have NCAA Tournament. I don't know. They might have the big dance. They might. I got to be honest with you. We get an email about it every year from the radio station, and I never read it. Because on the radio station, I don't have to do these commercials, so it's not a problem for me. I can just talk about the NCAA tournament. But when we're doing a commercial, we can't say those things. It's stupid. That's what it is. It's very, very dumb. We all know what it is. We're just not allowed to say it. I have to say something else. Basketball event. Sometimes I forget, and then I just hope that nobody notices. We'll be there. Thursday, Sports and Social. Come hang out with us. Yeah, so actually, that's not the only day we're going to be at Sports and Social. I'll be back at Sports and Social the following Thursday night for the round of, now I got to go back into commercial mode, the round of 15 plus 1. I don't know what I'm allowed to say there. The Super 16.
You can say.
That's what I'll be there for. That happens to be the same day as opening day.
Regional semis.
Regional semis, yes.
Yeah.
So after the baseball game, I want you to come down and hang out and watch the basketball games at Sports and Social. Griffin has said, no. I'm out. Gonna go get hammered at the baseball game. Can't make it. So I need a promotions person, essentially. I need a sidekick. I have an extra ticket for opening day. So I'm willing to, if you want to be my date for opening day, you just got to be my promotions person that night at Sports and Social. I'll give my other ticket to somebody who is willing to come help me out. It's not significant. You're just going really to watch the basketball games. Griffin ain't going to be doing hard work on Thursday.
That's not well.
He's going.
You're going to be these winning bets for you.
Well, I'm glad, but we're going to be giving away prizes, so you got to make sure that everybody has their slips to fill out the in order to win our prizes. But it is really easy work. It is essentially just sitting at a table and being available for people to come by while I'm wandering around doing all this sticky shtick, right? Like that's what this looks like on Thursday. I need that from someone the following Thursday, and I'm willing to let you be my date to opening day, and you can have my other ticket. They're pretty good tickets. They're third base line, lower level, pretty good tickets. If you'll be my date, or if you want to be my date for opening day, if you're willing to be my promotions person for that night after the game. We might require us to leave an inning early. That's the only thing, because I got to be there in time. And if the nice thing about baseball now is the games don't go very long. But if for some reason opening day is the game, and I remember last year the opening day game went very long.
That's right. What was it, 10? Or I'm thinking
this was the game in Boston. It was in Boston, the season opener, and we were all laughing about they're speeding up baseball, huh? As it turns out, they were, and it was
Adley,
good.
It was Adley's fault.
It was just,
5 for
right?
5.
That jerk.
I mean,
it just wasn't that day that baseball was sped up. If it happens to be like that, we might have to duck out a little bit early. But if you want to be my date for opening day, I got an extra ticket. I just need you to go with me afterwards to Live Casino and Hotel and Sports and Social to hang out. And what a terrible day that would be for you. I'm even willing to I don't drink. I'll even do the driving.
Wow.
Yeah.
This is a hell of a deal.
What an offer.
This is
what an offer I'm making right now. Because Griffin was like, nope, I'm out. I'm getting effed up. Wearing a diaper.
Doing that.
You sure?
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
If you were allowed to go early in the morning and you didn't have to do this show that day, then maybe.
No, I can. I'm an adult and
the
hold
people
and
that are wearing
rotate.
diapers are all adults too. They're just adults wearing diapers.
Different
Look,
levels,
man,
different tiers of adults.
I've been through this conversation many times. It's disgusting, but in a way, it's also smart because it is the bathroom situation on opening day is a disaster. It is, if you're doing the whole thing, if you're doing the get there early, drink all day thing, it is a disaster. These are bars that are built for what the crowd is like on a typical Wednesday, not built for opening day specifically. So I get it. Not a problem for your boy because your boy doesn't drink anymore. But for the rest of you, I understand why it's an issue. So just message me, say, hey, that sounds like a good time. I'll be your Huckleberry. You can be my date for opening day. We'll go over to wherever the radio station is broadcasting from beforehand. And everything will be on Chuck. Everything. Look at everything I'm offering you.
Wow.
Look at everything I'm offering you. All right. When we come back in, Nick Timberlake, former Towson Tiger, getting ready for the NCAA Tournament with Kansas. He joins us next. Glenn Clark Radio.
Hey, it's Jeremy Kahn. This postseason, bet in person at the Green Turtle Bet Park Sportsbooks with locations in Canton and in Towson, and enjoy the best in-class sports wagering experience at their state-of-the-art facilities, bringing an unmatched sports betting thrill.
Gambling can be a fun and entertaining experience, but there are risks involved. If you're planning on betting on the game at the casino or on your phone or computer, know your limit, stay within it. Set a budget and a time to stop. Remember, gambling isn't a financial solution, and it doesn't mix well with alcohol or drugs. Know the risks and have a plan before you begin gambling. For free and confidential services, call 1-800-GAMBLER 24/7 or go to helpmygamblingproblem.org.
Discover your next favorite beer crafted in the heart of Charm City. At Guilford Hall Brewery, we believe beer should be flavorful and easy to enjoy. Our meticulously crafted lagers and ales are derived from centuries-old European brewing traditions, a staple for both the seasoned beer aficionado or a novice hophead. Experience beer styles that dare to showcase the exceptionality of simplicity. Visit our restaurant and brewery at 1611 Guilford Avenue or view our menu and tap map online at guilfordhall.com. Guilford Hall Brewery, European tradition, Baltimore charm.
Make the most out of every day in your Toyota RAV4. Available in hybrid or gas-only models. A RAV4 can get you where you want to go in style. Check out buyatoyota.com for deals on new RAV4s from your local Toyota dealer today.
6 chicken tenders made from fresh, never frozen Royal Farms world-famous chicken, a family-sized order of Western fries, honey mustard dipping sauce, and a 2-liter bottle of Dr. Pepper. It's Royal Farms' new Tucker's Tenders Meal. It's Justin Tucker's favorite, and at only $19.99, it'll be your favorite meal too. The new Tucker's Tenders Meal, available only at Royal Farms. Now you can kick back, relax, and eat like a champion. Real fresh, real fast, Royal Farms.
Craving that classic New York deli experience? Look no further than the new Atman's Deli in Baltimore's Harbor Point. Corned beef piled high, hand-rolled bagels, and something different. A bar! Atman's has food and drink specials every day. Now open for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Dine in, grab takeout, or hang out at the bar for the next O's game. Atman's Deli, an authentic taste of Baltimore tradition since 1915. Find us at Harbor Point or visit atmansdeli.com.
What company has the expertise to make your home healthier by purifying your air and killing all viruses, allergens, and bacteria? A.J. Michaels, Heating and Air Conditioning in Baltimore and Annapolis, ajmichaels.com.
Hungry? With 7 locations throughout Maryland, Glory Days Grill is always right around the corner. They have wings, burgers, salads, sandwiches, and drinks to satisfy everyone, as well as tons of televisions and sound delivered right to your phone. Glory Days is the best place to watch football or whatever your favorite sport is. While you're there, be sure to check out Goose Flights Lager, named in honor of legendary Raven Tony Goose Siragusa. $2 of every can is donated to the Goose Flights Foundation. Glory Days Grill. Great food, good sports.
One of the things that's definitely wrong with this country is that this dude still has a job somehow, some way. Glenn Clark.
Later today, Stan the Fan Charles and Luke Jackson will get together to recap everything that they saw down in Sarasota. You can watch it facebook.com/PressBoxSports. About 4 o'clock today. If you miss it there, youtube.com/PressBoxOnline or PressBoxOnline.com/video for Stan and Luke later today. And if you haven't picked up this print issue of PressBox, there is still time to do it. Get to your neighborhood Royal Farms, any of the hundreds of locations around town where you find PressBox, or read it all at PressBoxOnline.com, as we really do dive into the 2024 Baltimore Orioles in that cover story. As I mentioned, we actually had to do this a little bit earlier on because of their practice schedule, getting ready for the start of the NCAA Tournament, but had the opportunity to catch up with one of the folks with local ties who's playing in the tournament this year, Nick Timberlake, right now here on GCR. Well, our next guest here on GCR is getting ready to play in the NCAA Tournament for the first time in his career when Kansas takes on Samford on Thursday night out in Salt Lake City. He is a former Towson Tiger. He is Nick Timberlake, and he's back with us now here on GCR. Nick, it's Glenn in Baltimore. It's great to chat with you, man. Thank you for taking the time, and congratulations on being in the tournament.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Hey, Nick, I remember you telling us years ago that before you went to prep school, you had 0 offers, even at the D2 level, coming out of high school. From there to now, playing for Kansas in the NCAA tournament, can you possibly describe what this opportunity means to you?
Yeah, I mean, I never thought I'd be here, especially 6 years ago, with having to go to prep school and all that. It's just a dream come true.
What was it like the first time you looked around? You playing at the Allen Fieldhouse and the atmosphere there. What was that moment like for your first game this season?
It was actually an exhibition game. We played a D2 team up here, and it was insane because you would have thought we were in the Big 12 conference the way the stadium was packed, but it was insane.
I mean, dude, I can only imagine, somebody who loves basketball, I know you come from a basketball family, obviously. Has there been something, when you knew that Kansas was on the table, was there something about Kansas basketball that just made you say, I almost don't even care what my role is. That opportunity is one that's too good to pass up?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, as long as I was playing, I was pretty excited about the opportunity, and then came out and took a visit, and then just from there fell in love with it.
And he is Nick Timberlake. He's with us here on GCR as he gets ready for the NCAA tournament. Nick, obviously the role has changed, right? And from being kind of the straw that stirs the drink at Kansas to having to get used to coming off the bench. How difficult has that adjustment been? Does it change the way you prepare? Does it change your mentality, when you're sitting on the bench as a game starts?
Yeah, it's definitely been a little different, especially being at Towson for the last 2 years. Like you said, starting and playing through me, it's definitely different. But, I mean, I also was coming off the bench at one point in Towson, so I have that in my back pocket to remember from. But I'm just very happy that I'm here. It's been up and down year for me personally, but it's been a good experience for me for sure.
You mentioned it's been an up and down year, right? And it's not just you; it's been an up and down year for the team, right? But I know health is a big part of that. But this is the NCAA tournament. How good do you feel about what this group is capable of doing, despite all of those ups and downs that you and they have been through this season?
Yeah, it should be good. I mean, we've proven we can beat the best of the best in the country throughout the year, especially getting the rest the last week or so. We've just been preparing for Sanford, and looking forward to playing them in the first round.
What's it going to mean to you, right, to step out? We talk about the first game at Allen Fieldhouse, but now we're talking about the NCAA tournament. And, clearly you played in big games at Towson. You won a conference championship in the regular season and had that. But this is a completely different animal. What will this mean to you just to be on the floor in the NCAA tournament?
It's definitely a dream come true. It's one of those things that I get to cross off my college bucket list. So I'm very happy for that.
What was it? Your time at Towson? What's the best thing that you learned about the game, about yourself, about handling adversity? What's the biggest thing that you've taken from your time at Towson as you've gone on to Kansas?
I'd probably just say, just never settling, I guess.
Okay.
Just always trying to get better. I feel like coming in had to prove that I could play at Towson, and then over the course of the years, just keep improving myself, being better and better, and then once we got more pieces at Towson, the team became better, and we kind of put Towson on the map as a pretty good mid-major program across the country.
I think there's no doubt about that. Do you keep the same chip on your shoulder? Like we reference going back to the time when nobody wanted you. Well, hey, last off season, everybody wanted you, right? Like there was a lot of demand when you went into the portal. Do you have to try to keep that same chip on your shoulder? Even though you were there were programs that desired having you play for them, do you still try to act like the guy that nobody wanted a few years ago because it's healthy to play that way?
Yeah, I think that's always going to be a part of me. I don't think that'll ever go away. Always just prove myself and then proving people wrong.
What about, I think I read somewhere that you stayed in touch with Cam Holden as you've been going through this season?
Yeah, I mean, me and Cam have been buddies for the last 2 years, so obviously just staying close with him while he's overseas, and then he's always checking up on me, even though there is a big little time difference.
Right.
We try to get in contact with each other as much as we can.
That's awesome, man. That's really, really cool. Were you able to what did you pay attention to Towson, or did you have too much going on that you couldn't even worry about that?
No, I was looking at the scores. I mean, I don't have Flow Hoops, which is annoying to watch 1,000 games, but I mean, I was keeping up with the scores, and then obviously watched the Charleston game because it was on CBS. I know.
Yeah, what could have been? What could have been?
Exactly.
By the way, that frustration that you bring up with Flow Hoops, it's a topic of conversation that never seems to go away around these parts. All right, so as you get ready for this week, obviously you're thinking about Sanford first, but what's it going to take, right? Like I think there are a lot of people that still believe, given the talent that you guys have, despite the sort of difficult end of the regular season, that there's a real chance for you all to make a run. What will it take for this group to be able to make a run in the tournament?
Yeah, just taking one game at a time. I mean, you got 6 championships to win, 6 games in 4 weeks, I believe it is. So, I mean, just taking one game at a time, though, for real, is what we're looking at now.
And tell me about Hunter Dickinson, right? Like getting to know that guy. Obviously, someone who's done everything in college basketball. Like, what's it been like being alongside him? And how he has also brought so much to that program.
Yeah, I mean, he makes the game easier for the rest of us. He always has a lot of attention on him on the court, whether it's being double-teamed or trapped or whatever. He's just looking for everyone. He's a very unselfish player. It's been a lot of fun playing with him.
All right. Have you had an opportunity yet to listen to your cousin's new album?
No, I have not.
I don't think I've ever. Has there ever been a chance that you've been able to take advantage of like being out at somewhere and like trying to convince people that you're related to Justin at some point?
Yeah, I'll do it every once in a while, but for the most time, people just call me Justin as it is. Keep it pushing.
That's not bad. Hey, Nick, social media-wise, where are you at? I know you're not particularly active on Twitter anymore, right?
Yeah, no, I haven't been using Twitter throughout this year.
What about on Instagram? You still over on there?
Yeah, I'm over on Instagram.
What's the handle on Instagram?
Timberlake25.
At Timberlake25 on Instagram. You can give him a follow as Nick Timberlake goes through the tournament. Nick, congratulations. I've told you before, you're an awful lot of fun to watch during your time at Towson, and we're still pulling for you and for everything that you're trying to do as you go try to win a national championship this year. Appreciate you taking the time for us, man. Thanks so much for doing this morning.
Yeah, thank you guys for having me on. It means a lot.
It's Nick Timberlake, again, formerly at Towson and now at Kansas. Hoping that Patrick Stevens is wrong, and that they can put it all back together. But, yeah, they have been depleted by injury, and that's hurt them as they not just lost down the stretch, but they were getting throttled. They were getting kind of blown out in some of those. I mean, one was Houston, who's obviously very, very good, but like even Cincinnati kind of beat them down in the Big 12 tournament. But we'll see. We'll see. That's the crazy part about how this all works. We all know it's a new season, if you will, with the start of the tournament. All right, winding down here in hour number 2, today's show has also been brought to you by your local Toyota dealer and buyatoyota.com, where we remind you countysports.zone is the place to turn as you're looking into the start of the spring season. You want all the recaps from this past weekend and championship hoops. You can find it there. And now you can start finding schedules, scores, updates related to baseball, softball, lacrosse. Will all be available. countysports.zone, brought to you by your local Toyota dealers. We'll come back in. We'll get a tidbit. We'll get tubular. And because you asked, I'll tell you my thoughts on Patrick Queen's Twitter account. Boy, do I not care. That's coming up. It's Glenn Clark Radio.
Craving that classic New York deli experience? Look no further than the new Atman's Deli in Baltimore's Harbor Point. Corned beef piled high, hand-rolled bagels, and something different. A bar! Atman's has food and drink specials every day. Now open for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Dine in, grab takeout, or hang out at the bar for the next O's game. Atman's Deli, an authentic taste of Baltimore tradition since 1915. Find us at Harbor Point or visit atmansdeli.com.
Why bet with the big boys this football season? Instead, try your hand with the local book, Superbook Sports, this fall. Superbook Sports is the book next door. Just a dedicated team of the best odds makers in Las Vegas, making sure you get the best prices and parlays anywhere. And now, Superbook will give you a bonus of up to $250 when you sign up and wager on the same day and use the promo code GlennClark23, GLENNCLARK23. So bet with the best and use the promo code GlennClark23 this football season with Superbook Sports. Visit superbook.com for terms and conditions. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Whether you're celebrating a special milestone, entertaining clients, or simply enjoying a night out, count on Ruth's Chris to deliver you the finest steaks, the best service, and a level of hospitality that has made Ruth's Chris one of the most revered names in steaks since 1965. Make your reservation now at ruthschris.com.
Whether your focus is luxury and comfort, convenience and technologically advanced connectivity, or sporty performance and aggressive styling, we've got the perfect Highlander for you. Check out buyatoyota.com for deals on new Highlanders from your local Toyota dealer today.
The ultimate fan experience awaits you at Sports and Social Maryland. See how we're raising the sports bar with our massive 100-foot media wall featuring 40 HD TVs and a 47-foot big screen. Bet on your favorite teams and this year's biggest events at the FanDuel Sportsbook while enjoying your favorite beers and cocktails, plus our delicious takes on bar food classics. Visit Sports and Social at Live Casino and Hotel Maryland, at Arundel Mills. Must be 21. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Discover your next favorite beer crafted in the heart of Charm City. At Guilford Hall Brewery, we believe beer should be flavorful and easy to enjoy. Our meticulously crafted lagers and ales are derived from centuries-old European brewing traditions, a staple for both the seasoned beer aficionado or a novice hophead. Experience beer styles that dare to showcase the exceptionality of simplicity. Visit our restaurant and brewery at 1611 Guilford Avenue or view our menu and tap map online at guilfordhall.com. Guilford Hall Brewery, European tradition, Baltimore charm.
The latest edition of Pressbox is available now, and on the cover we look at the promise of spring for the Baltimore Orioles as Todd Karpovich and others shine the light on the team's hopes to take the next step towards championship contention and what reinforcements could still be coming. Plus, Pressbox personalities offer suggestions to David Rubenstein about stewarding the franchise. Also inside, Bo Smolka on how the Ravens defense could evolve with new coordinator Zach Orr. And we meet lacrosse players from the men's and women's programs across the state. Pressbox is available for free at over 500 area locations, including 60 Royal Farm stores. And you can always find the entire edition as well as the best daily coverage of the O's, Ravens, and Terps at PressBoxOnline.com.
Contrary to what some people believe, I actually like this guy when he sleeps. Glenn Clark, talking sports.
They just put out the menu for John Rahm's dinner at the Masters this year. He's hosting because he's the champion. It's tapas.
Spell
It's
that?
very Spanish themed. You don't know
okay.
what tapas are?
Oh, okay.
He's doing a bunch of tapas. There's a lentil stew, a Spanish omelet, a spicy Basque chorizo and potato. Ooh, that sounds good. Some sort of Spanish cheese with black truffle. That sounds pretty good, too. And I don't like tapas. Like, if anybody invited me out for tapas, I'd say, I'll see you the next time you want to get together. I'll never be a tapas man. It just will never happen. I'll order, go ahead and get my own food. Whatever I want. I have no interest in sharing plates. I'm sorry. No, thank you. I'll just go ahead and have my own food. Then they're doing a Basque crab salad with potatoes as the first course. The main course is either a Basque ribeye with piquillo peppers or a turbot, which is a fish, with white asparagus. And then dessert is it's also Spanish. I don't know what it is. Sounds really good, though.
I thought it was cultured, I guess.
Yeah, not that kind. Spanish cuisine has never been my... What's the Spanish place in town? Oh, God, it's going to drive me nuts.
Chipotle down the road?
No, that's not Spanish. It's not even Mexican, you a-hole. God. Tio Pepe's. Jesus Christ. Now, Tio Pepe's is great, but Spanish is not my...
There's a Mari Luna's in Pikesville, right by my aunt's house. I like that place.
Is that actually Spanish?
I guess it's probably been slightly Americanized, but it's pretty authentic.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Mari Luna's.
I've never heard of that.
Yeah. I don't know. It's in Pikesville, right off Reisterstown Road.
I don't know anything about it. That's wild. I remember going to Tio Pepe's. Like, that was like in high school. They took you to Tio Pepe's to, like, prove that you could, like, order in Spanish.
Oh, really?
And, like, I guess it had to be
that's a great...
Why it had to be
I don't know.
Well, Tio Pepe's is, like, the highest... Like, the top of the list, right? Like, I don't know why it was a Spanish restaurant and not, say, like, a Mexican restaurant. I guess because all the Mexican restaurants are all Americanized, so, like, none of them would feel authentic, so it had to be a Spanish restaurant. I love Tio Pepe's, but I've just never... Spanish cuisine is not... Admittedly, I'm low rent. Hi, Glenn Clark. I've definitely always chosen Mexican over Spanish cuisine in my life. But it sounds really good. It sounds like something I'd be into. I don't care about Patrick Queen. Sorry. Sorry.
He's a traitor. What do you...
What's that?
He's a traitor. Like, that's...
I don't care. I mean, like, look, man, we went through it. I said it last week. It was stunning, but the Ravens decided to move on from Patrick Queen. He had the right to sign wherever he wanted to sign. The market was depleted for him. He took what he could get in Pittsburgh. That's the way it works. I sure as hell am not rooting for him, to be very clear. We always do that wacky bit with draft prospects. We're like, hey, it's not personal. We're not going to root for. I don't hate Patrick Queen. Patrick Queen went on Twitter and said, honestly, bruh, y'all can STF you now. It's not even that deep for us players until game week, and y'all can't understand the fact it wasn't up to me. I gave y'all everything I had. Now when it's time for me to do what I need, y'all hurt about everything I say. Go touch some grass and fill the void in y'all life. To ones still showing love, even with the switch, this not to y'all. Couple of things. On a personal level, I always liked Patrick Queen. Always did. This is a meta conversation because it's the type of thing that, like, you can't... If you're saying something abusive to Patrick Queen, then you're an a-hole. And you should STF you. If you're saying, like, I hope you break your leg. Like, if you're saying that type of crap, or if you're using horribly derogatory terms, I don't care if it's Patrick Queen. You don't do it to anybody. You're worthless. Sorry. Somebody's got to say it. You offer nothing to society, and you need help. And I don't say that part flippantly. Like, you should seek help. Talk to someone about whatever is going on in your life that you think that's the way that you should be spending your time. To Patrick Queen, separated from the abusive, if that's what he's responding to, and I don't know, I didn't see that, but those people aren't people that I would be following on, Twitter. So maybe that is what he's dealing with. But if he's just sick of getting crap about it, dude, come on, man. You're saying the parts out loud that you're not supposed to say. The reason why you're able to make a really nice living playing football is because people are this passionate about it. It's the thing we're not supposed to say, right? Like, pull it back. Should anybody be, when you say it's not even that deep for us players until game week and y'all can't understand that fact, it wasn't up to me. Two things that are in there. One, we all know that someone who wasn't born in Baltimore that just shows up is not going to feel the same inner angst about the Ravens-Steelers rivalry as people that grew up here. It's in their blood. It will mean more to Malik Ham if he gets on the field in a Ravens-Steelers game than it would mean to Patrick Queen. Because Malik Ham grew up rooting for the Ravens. Cared about it. Hated the Steelers. But for somebody who just shows up here, this is just the team that I play for. And the game, the week of the game, as he points out, means something because it's Ravens-Steelers. But he doesn't think about it otherwise because it's not part of his blood. He didn't grow up hating the Pittsburgh Steelers. It's not in him. But you're not supposed to say that part out loud. It's all part of the show. Part of the show is we want you to think that this means as much to us as it means to you. Because we want it to mean that much to you. Because if it means that much to you, then you're more invested as a fan. And we're more valuable because if you're more invested in us as a fan, you'll spend more money. That's more money there is to be shared. And it's the part, again, that you're not supposed to talk about. But we should all know. Patrick Queen, you can't be this angry that people are bothered that you're going to the Steelers. Even now that you're on the other side of it, you want people to care this much. You can't think this way because in Patrick Queen's mind, in the mind of any player, that stuff doesn't bother. I know I'm getting my money because I'm a football player, but all of this matters. It's all part of it. It's such a hard thing to explain. No one's saying that if the Ravens-Steelers rivalry dies tomorrow, then football's dead and nobody's going to make their money. But every ounce of it is valuable. Whatever extra juice Ravens-Steelers gives, whatever that means, however that translates in dollars, it's more dollars. Plain and simple. It's good for business for Ravens-Steelers to be passionate. It's good for everybody. Some guys have made their names on Ravens-Steelers. Terrell Suggs was always going to be a Hall of Fame caliber player, but Terrell Suggs became a more iconic figure because of how he treated Ravens-Steelers. Not the only one. Charlie Batch, who otherwise was a guy that came here and beat the Ravens once. You can't. The part where he says it's not up to me is the interesting part that he probably doesn't think he can talk about, which is I have an agent. The agent goes and gets me the best deal and then tells me what the deal is. Where the argument back would be, hey, dude, you can say no. Like, you can. The agent works for you. Like, you can say to him, I don't want to go there. Now, why you would ever do that, I have no idea. There would have to be a really unique circumstance, right? Like, the idea that if there were other options, this report this week that, like, Justin Fields had other options but wanted to be in Pittsburgh, of the options that were on the table.
Everybody wants to be in Pittsburgh, huh?
Well, I would have to know more about what the other options are, because I think one of them was the Raiders, and, like, I guess I could see where he would say, like, hey, even if I am definitively the starter, that situation is just as toxic as the situation that I came from. I just want to be in a better organization. If Minnesota was an option, why in the world would you go somewhere where you're not definitively entrenched as the starter on day one when there's an option on the table for a competent organization that has the best receiver in football? And you would be the immediate start. Unless, again,
Sam Darnold's the guy there.
In Minnesota, they're so stupid that they told him, like, well, Darnold's got a leg up. People are so stupid. The league is so dumb. There are circumstances where a guy might say, hey, I'd rather be in this spot than another. But if Patrick Queen's agent came to him and said, the best offer is Pittsburgh, then Patrick Queen almost certainly is going to say, okay. And that's what he's alluding to, right? Like, he didn't seek out Pittsburgh. He didn't say, well, if Baltimore doesn't want me, go get me whatever deal you can get from Pittsburgh. And I don't care if Seattle wants more money or wants to give me more money. I want to be in Pittsburgh because F them. That's what he's alluding to. But you're still going to Pittsburgh, dog. Like, just because your agent was the one that did the deal doesn't mean that you get to say, like, well, you can't be mad at me. Well, yeah, they can. And again, the part you don't want to hear is you want them to be mad. The problem is, hi, Glenn Clark, guy who decided to go away from radio and take a show here and has had to work to build audiences. The problem is when you do something and the answer is indifference. When what you do, you get an indifferent response to, then you have a problem. A real problem. Because that's when the money starts to dry up. It's a good thing that people are angry. Not okay for them to be abusive. That's not okay. If anybody's being abusive towards Patrick Queen, again, you're a creep. Get help. But if you just don't want people to be mad, come on, dog. Come on. You all right over there?
Yeah, sorry.
But to be clear, I don't care. I don't. I'm not angry at Patrick Queen. I'm not rooting for him. I don't want him to have success. He's a Steeler. Like Patrick Queen, personally. Good guy. Came out and did Tyus' show. Came on with us the morning after the draft. I like Patrick Queen. I do. I think that the way that we treated Patrick Queen in this town is idiotic. It reminds me a little bit of Torrey Smith. The number of people that, like, once it was clear that Torrey Smith was leaving, was like, oh, he was never that great. Like, dog, have you looked at the wide receivers in town? All he ever did was get pass interference yards. Those count too! You idiot! Just because you don't get them in your fantasy team doesn't mean they're not helpful for the football team, you losers. And the same thing is happening right now, Patrick Queen. Oh, dude, tells you everything you need to know. Mike McDonald didn't want him. Yes, because that is an obvious thing. Mike McDonald definitely didn't want Patrick Queen. He clearly gets to make all of the decisions. He clearly is the one that walks in and demands on day one as a new head coach, you will give all of our money to Patrick Queen. That's how this works. You have deciphered this brilliantly. You geniuses. Patrick Queen was a damn good football player. The bit we do where we pretend like it's only because of Roquan Smith is nonsense. Did Patrick Queen get off to a slow start to his career? Absolutely. Was Patrick Queen a different player in 2022 before Roquan Smith showed up? Hell yeah, he was. No matter how insane Griffin and other mouth breathers wanted to be about it. Was he even better than that? In part, maybe, because Roquan Smith was there? Probably. But starting in 2022, Patrick Queen was a different football player. They, figured out where he should be lining up on the field, which is helpful. They put him in a better spot. And we, like idiots, have never – I got to tell you, it's interesting that we talked to Matt Wieters today because it's kind of similar to how we talk about Matt Wieters. Matt Wieters is a 4-time All-Star for very good baseball teams, and yet to a certain percentage of Orioles fans, there's one word, bust. We are incapable of having conversations. We just do groupthink nonsense. Patrick Queen, damn good football player for good football teams. But he's a Steeler now. So, of course, I'm rooting against him. Obviously. Also, I've had a few people ask me about the Pimlico thing. I have been reaching out to the Stronach group trying to get somebody to come on, and I am, like, they got back to me and just said, here's the statement. I don't love that. I got a bigger thing. I want to flush it out a little bit more. The Stronach group's utter lack of presence in Baltimore has been shameful. I've said that before. I don't feel bad saying that now. I'm glad this appears as though it's finally coming to fruition. But I got to tell you, man, it's embarrassing. It's the classic thing where somebody looks at a market like Baltimore and says, well, we don't have to be in Baltimore to be able to do business in Baltimore. And it's problematic. I don't have a lot more to say about it. It looks like it's ultimately going to be for the best. Obviously not for the best for anybody that cares about Laurel, but I don't know how many people deeply care about Laurel. I mean, I guess people in Laurel probably do. I don't know what that's going to mean for them. I don't think it was a big, economic boon. But for Baltimore, it appears to be a very good thing. So I would like to talk to somebody from the Stronach group about it. Really would. I mean, I'd text the mayor and say the mayor wants to talk about it, but I know what the mayor is going to say. This is a good thing. I'd like to talk to the Stronach group, and they're, for whatever reason, they're not very chatty. I don't know what to make of that. Let's get a tidbit. Tidbit is brought to you today by Atman's Deli. Love Atman's. Love, 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 love Atman's. And Atman's Harbor Point is now open. It's going to be serving goose flights, which is a good thing. Of course, has everything you love about Atman's. The corned beef piled high. The delicious soups. Hand-rolled bagels. All of the sandwiches are a 10.5. I brought over the extra dessert that we had from the feast on Friday to Stevenson for the Mustang Classic this weekend.
Assuming it lasted like 30 seconds.
6 seconds.
Yeah.
Gary Stein was grabbing one. I said, hey, Steiner, you know where that came from? He was like, I said, it came from Atman's. He was like, can we get some sandwiches from Atman's? I said, Steiner, do you think there's any chance any sandwich from Atman's was lasting to here? You think there was any chance of that playing out? Love Atman's, man. It's not just the corned beef. All of their deli sandwiches are delicious, and the pickles, big win. AtmansDeli.com to find out more. And again, the Atman's on Harbor Point also has a bar, so it's a great place to hang out, watch games, maybe before and after baseball games this summer. AtmansDeli.com to find the daily specials.
Is that me?
Yes, it's Tidbit.
Kyle Stowers, 3-home run game on Sunday. Last time there's been a...
Apparently, John in Little Rock also went on a high school field trip to Tio Pepe's in Spanish class. I guess this must have been a Baltimore County thing.
Darn.
Because I know John was a Dundalk guy. This must have been a Baltimore County thing. That you took a Spanish class trip to Tio Pepe's.
I guess there's just not enough Spanish restaurants in Carroll County.
Yeah, I guess not. Tio Pepe's was a 10.5, man. Love it.
Last time there was a 3-home run game in a spring training game was...
How the F would I know that?
You're supposed to know.
How?
It's the tidbit. There's a 12 3-homer game since at least 2006. And the last time it happened was 2018 by Mike Zunino.
Sure it did. Definitely a thing that people should know for some reason.
Kyrie Irving hit his game winner the game-winning buzzer beater the other night for the Mavs. That is the third team that he has hit a game-winning buzzer beater for And there are only 2 other active players to hit game-winning buzzer beaters for 3 different teams. Any chance you can get it?
I mean, no, but Durant.
Not Kevin Durant.
Harden.
Not James Harden.
LeBron.
No. They are both. They've been all-stars.
Westbrook.
No. One guy, you're not going to believe the one guy's still in the league.
I'm not going to believe the one
I believe
guy.
he is on the Grizzlies now, apparently.
There's a guy. Did we? I feel like we did something like
Did we
this
do something like this?
recently.
Well, so the
was it
teams,
Boogie Cousins?
No, not Boogie Cousins.
Who did we
What
do
was the Boogie
recently?
Cousins?
Is it Derrick Rose?
It is Derrick
Rose
for the Bulls, the Timberwolves, and the Detroit Pistons. He is currently a
Okay.
Memphis Grizzly.
I think I knew that, but I think that came up because there's apparently some weird bit. There was somebody on the internet that was doing a bit about, like, they pulled Derrick Rose Bulls highlights and were like, it's a joke. This guy won MVP. It could never happen these days. And, like, they cherry picked the highlights, and it was a whole movement on Twitter a couple weeks ago.
He was the best player.
I got to go back and you know what? We had an MVP related question at trivia last night. Sorry, the other one.
2011 or 12? What year was
I don't
that?
remember what
This was
year
the
it was.
11-12 season.
Who
else could it? Whatever.
Somebody else. 3 different teams. Drew Holiday.
That's a good guess, but not Drew Holiday. He's only played for 3 teams, and he has hit a game-winning buzzer beater.
Kevin Love.
Not Kevin Love. Started with the Warriors.
Andre Iguodala.
No.
Is he active still? Is he still in the league somewhere?
No, he's retired.
Okay. Started with the Warriors. Harrison Barnes.
Harrison Barnes
is
the correct answer. Barnes, Rose, and now Kyrie.
All right.
3 different buzzer beaters for 3 different teams.
Very good.
Yeah,
do you
I
have
guess
more?
I
All right,
can save him.
Save it.
Yeah, Blake Snell related.
Last night, the trivia question was, there were 2 sports trivia. It was not a good night for Team Norfolk last night. Not a good night. Finished second to last. It was a bad. We also went all in on a final that we didn't know about because we were out of the money. The one was name, the category wordplay. This word is both the name of a North American team sport and the name of a town in Wisconsin.
A North American team sport.
Yep. And the name of a town in Wisconsin.
Soccer.
I, of course, knew it immediately.
You did?
Yes.
So.
It's not soccer.
A North American team sport.
Team sport. Also the name of a town in Wisconsin.
Lacrosse.
That is correct.
Really?
That is correct. It's
Why?
In Wisconsin, it's L-A space capital C R-O-S-S-E.
Oh. Lacrosse, Wisconsin.
There is a University of Wisconsin lacrosse.
Did anyone else get this?
It seemed like it had to be because the answers came up pretty quickly.
Okay.
It seemed like most people got
sprinted up to.
Yeah, I don't think it was a social, but I think most people got it. The one that I have to admit we actually got one of the 4 wrong. Since the start of the 2010 season, there have been 4.
Is everyone mad at you when you get it wrong?
Oh, when you like the same, we got a movie guy on the team, and there were 3
Uh-oh.
There were 3 movies at the Academy Awards this year that won at least 2 awards.
Oppie.
Of course.
Barbie.
No. It was also not what we guessed.
Spider-Verse should have won multiple, but I don't think it did.
Did not.
Why can't I think of any other movies? I mean, there were no good movies. There were a ton of great movies.
I don't disagree with that.
Killers, Flower Moon.
No.
Really?
No.
Well, yeah, those were the only.
Poor Things is the one you should have got. Emma Stone, of course, won Best Actress. It was a bit of an upset there, and it won like the costume. It won like a lot of the other.
Oh, won the John Cena Award.
I started watching the Poor Things thing the other day. Like tried to start watching it. I had a headache like 5 minutes in.
It was the same guy that did The Lobster or something.
I don't know about that.
Yeah, The Lobster.
The
Lobster, I did not like The Lobster.
Dude, 5 minutes into Poor Things.
So I turned on The Lobster, and I ended up watching all of The Lobster because I thought it was The Lighthouse with Willem Dafoe and Robert Pattinson.
I don't know about either of these films.
And I was very disappointed because it was The Lobster and not The Lighthouse.
I'm telling you, man. 5 minutes into Port, I was done. I was out. I said, no thank you.
I'm pretty sure it was the same guy that did The Lobster. That makes a lot of sense.
The other films that won, we got Poor Things. We his guess was Anatomy of a Fall. I don't even know what that is.
That's coming to streaming this week. I forget what it's about, but yeah.
It was not. The other one was Zone of Interest, which was about the Ukraine. That was the one that was so.
Okay.
So we missed one, and we were furious. And then we got a sports question, and I missed one. It was not a good night.
You guys finished last?
There have been 4 players since the start of the 2010 season to have won consecutive NBA MVP awards.
Wow, since 2010?
Yep, since
Jokic,
of course.
Russ.
By the way, I wrote down 5 names, and I said it's 4 of these 5.
Russell Westbrook.
Russell Westbrook won 1.
Oh man, did you write his name down?
Nope, that wasn't the one I got wrong.
Embiid.
Not Joel Embiid hasn't just won last year. I mean, he might win this year. I don't know, but no,
Yeah,
he
he's
won't
not
win
gonna
this
win
year.
this year.
Yeah, what are you talking about?
Jokic.
Yeah, you've done worse than I did.
Yeah. Wow. I don't. KD.
That was one. That was the one I got wrong.
Okay.
KD's only won 1.
Jeez.
Like, we all remember the you to real MVP. So like we associate
Yeah.
KD with the MVP award. That's the only one he ever
I guess
won.
LeBron then.
LeBron was the
Yeah.
one that I missed because I was convinced that like they predated.
Yeah.
Like I just kept thinking to myself like LeBron.
I guess he won. How many did he win with Miami? Did it?
He won 2 with Miami. Those were the 2. That to me though, I was struggling with that. I'm like, once he got to Miami, he was on a super team. Why would he have been MVP? Like, I convinced myself that he only won MVPs with Cleveland.
So there's 4. LeBron, Jokic. Man, I don't know. I
can't believe
I'm struggling with this.
The other 2 to me were easy.
NBA MVPs. Giannis.
Giannis, of course. The other one was the first one I named. I'm stunned by.
I'm trying to. I gotta like backtrack here. So Jokic, Giannis, and then before that, because Steph won MVP.
Yes,
No.
twice.
Okay.
Yes,
I
correct. Back to back.
I was confusing it.
Back to back.
Was he last year was his first finals MVP, or the 2 years ago
Yeah,
was his first
that was
finals
his first
MVP.
finals MVP.
Okay.
That is correct.
Yeah.
Yes, because it
All
was
right.
Iguodala, Durant, and then Curry.
All
for
right,
the
so that's
Warriors.
where we got it confused. Durant won a couple
So that
finals
was
MVPs.
that was a rough scene.
Steph was the regular.
It was a
season
rough
MVP.
scene for me. I wrote down those 5 names, and I just talked myself into Durant over LeBron, and felt very stupid about that afterwards. Very, very dumb. All right, Tubular is brought to you by Superbook. The NCAA Tournament does get underway tonight, and not only can you bet tonight's games in the NCAA Tournament, but a lot of prop bets available on Superbook. Right now, UConn a plus 350 favorite to win the title, followed by Houston and Purdue at 6-1, Arizona at 10-1, Tennessee at 14-1. You can get a bet in on who's going to win each region. You can get some fun like conference props. Total wins for Big Ten teams. What do you think the number is set at? Total NCAA Tournament game wins for Big Ten teams.
Total wins. So they probably think Purdue's going to go pretty far, so that will inflate the number. Do they have one for all right, set the number. I'll set it 10.5.
8.
Wow.
8. Big Ten has struggled in the NCAA Tournament.
They have. That's why I want to go under.
8.
But like Purdue could get pretty close to that on their own.
They could win like 4, right? Like
you think there's 5 teams in?
Mm-hmm.
I feel like Michigan State gets
Illinois
a
could win a couple.
Yeah, Illinois could win a couple.
Like it's 8 is the number. The highest number, of course,
So
is
you
the
still
Big,
gotta go under.
the Big 12. 13.5 is the number for the Big 12. SEC has 11.
Because Houston's the Big 12. Yeah, they'll rack them up.
So you want to bet one of those? Superbook.com. Download the Superbook app. You can actually go some of these team by team. Like if you think Purdue's going to the Final Four, you can bet the over on tournament wins for Purdue is set at 2.5. So even if they lose in the Elite 8, you're still covered there. So if you want to bet it that way, you could bet it that way. There's a lot. You could do head-to-head. Who wins more tournament games, North Carolina or Arizona? They've got some of those available. They've got Sweet 16 prop bets available for you. Tons of tournament props available at Superbook. Superbook.com. Download the Superbook app. Use the code GlennClark23 when you sign up. You'll receive up to $250 in that same-day first bet match, win or lose.
Largest margin of victory in the first round.
A lot of fun prop bets available for the NCAA Tournament. All right, here's what's coming up tonight. As I mentioned, the start of the tournament indeed this evening on True TV.
Yes.
So try to find it on your cable.
It's the same channel that Impractical Jokers is on.
Right.
Everyone knows that.
Nobody does. Wagner and Howard at 6:40, Colorado State and Virginia at 9:10. ESPN Plus tonight, Navy, Villanova, Lacrosse at 7. Also, Hurricanes, Islanders at 7:30, and Wild Ducks at 10. The NHL games are both on Hulu as well. Maryland baseball. I watched a good bit of Maryland baseball this weekend against Portland. They
late nights.
No, the only one was late night. The
really?
other two were
Friday night
afternoon
was the
games.
only- Okay.
They had to have 2 come from behind wins as they took 2 out of 3 from the Pilots over the weekend. They play James Madison today, 4 o'clock on Big Ten Network Plus. Orioles are on TV this afternoon against the Blue Jays, so it'll be the Toronto broadcast because the game's in Dunedin. Cole Irvin and Chris Bassett, the pitching matchup there, so it'll be another opportunity to look at Cole Irvin and decide how comfortable you are with him going into the season. NIT all over the ESPN networks. I don't care, so it's what it is.
LSU North Texas. It's a good one, I think.
If you say so. That is tonight at 7 on the SEC network.
North Texas.
Don't forget tomorrow morning, 6 a.m. for the first Major League Baseball game of the season, Padres Dodgers, which means it's 3 a.m. West Coast time. Just genius stuff.
They're the 2 closest teams to Korea.
And Hae-Sung Kim, I understand certain elements of it, but work it out so it's at a better time for anyone to have a hope of watching it.
What time's it in Korea?
I don't know. I don't know what the time difference is there. But that's 6 a.m. tomorrow for the first game of the Major League Baseball season. Monumental Rockets Wizards at 7 o'clock. NBA TV Nuggets T-Wolves at 9. MLB Network Rays Red Sox at 1. Reds Angels at 4. D-backs Cubs at 9. The USA Network for WWE NXT tonight at 8. Non-sports highlights.
Nah.
Nothing even.
Shogun, another episode on FX. And that's really it. Tracy Morgan will be on Fallon.
Okay.
And then Dr. Dre, Snoop Dogg, and 50 Cent will be on Jimmy Kimmel.
Well, that's cool.
Yeah, I'm not sure what they're. I was trying to figure out what they're. The only thing I could find was that apparently Suge Knight was saying that those 3 are in a secret society together.
Oh, well, I don't know if that's what they're promoting.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
I'm going to guess that's probably not what they're plugging.
Well, they're probably going to confirm that. Yeah, they
okay.
are.
That's what it is. 13-hour difference between East Coast and Seoul.
So it'll be 7 p.m. there.
It would be 7 p.m. So just tell them that they need to play the game either at.
Yeah, I guess this is tough.
They'd have to play it in the after. They have to play it at.
If they played it at 1, that would be what? So start midnight our time.
Yeah, midnight our time, 9 p.m. West Coast time. That would make a lot of sense. It's not ideal. None of it's ideal, but dude, you got 2 West Coast teams playing. Come on, man. What are we doing? Played at noon. It could be 8 p.m. prime time on the West Coast, and 11 o'clock on the. Stupid. Just don't.
I gotta set my bets before I go to bed.
And it might be that whatever Seoul paid,
Right.
they paid for the Major League Baseball to say, hey, screw you, Los Angeles, San Diego. All right, very good. Thanks today to. Nick Timberlake, to Patrick Stevens, to Wes Brown, and to Matt Wieters. We'll get it all up in the greatest hits section of the.
Oh my God, it's so good.
Tab at GlennClarkRadio.com. Tomorrow is Drew.
I assume so. That was the last time we talked, but I haven't gotten a confirmation from him.
Okay, well, weird. JJ Cooper from Baseball America joins us tomorrow. He wrote a piece about how it's easy to say that the Orioles benefited from tanking, but it's more complicated than that. We've talked about it a lot. But he put some good thoughts into it, and so we'll talk to him about that.
And then Marcus Rosemy Jackson.
It's Jackson?
Yes.
Not Jack Saint, really? Jackson.
Yeah.
Marcus Rosemy Jackson. Georgia wide receiver, which means he, of course, spent some time with Todd Monken, so it would seem like that might be relevant to the Baltimore Ravens. We'll talk to him. What about?
I guess we'll figure out when we want to do that.
J.J. Hardy's going to join us at some point this week. We don't know if it's going to be
correct.
tomorrow or maybe Thursday, but at some point we're going to chat with J.J. Hardy.
That is correct.
All right, very good. Thanks to everybody at PressBox, all of our great sponsors and partners, including Live Casino and Hotel, Ruth's Chris, Atman's Deli, A.J. Michaels, Guilford Hall Brewery, Royal Farms, Costas Inn, Superbook Sports, Glory Days Grill, your local Toyota dealer, buyatoyota.com. Thanks to Griffin at Griffin_Bass. Follow us, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok at Glenn Clark Radio. Have a great Tuesday evening. Go Navy Lacrosse. Duke sucks.